Year 2012, China. Shanghai. Huangpu River under the night, being shined with magnificently dazzling light decoration from two shore, the Nevernight City, celebrate with songs and dance. 1,535 feet away from ground Pearl of Orient TV tower, under the stars in the sky is spectacular and magnificent. No one can see the top of the place. There is a girl wearing long black windbreaker standing above, her hands around the chest, coldly staring at Huangpu River slowly traveling cruise ship. Nearing. On this world-class luxury cruise ship, an auction held by Japan Kitano Financial Group is in progress. Numerous priceless treasures are being auctioned. Japanese things. She likes to rob cruise ship travel to location of feet, beautiful lips slightly arouse, tiptoed a bit, slender figure leaped up, a pair of huge black wings extend from her back. Faintly from behind grey cloud reveal a half-crescent moon, reflecting a girl's figure, red hair like fire, pupils shone like lacquer, have a strange yet stern aura. Her figure stopped for a moment in the air, then suddenly rushed toward cruise ship on river, as fast as lightning. In blink of eye, petite figure soundlessly landed on cruise ship, didn't detected by any guards, pair of wings on her back become a ferocious goshawk fly into night sky. Several guards walked over, Huang Beiyu figure slightly moved, like a cat passing behind them, enter the auction hall. Inside hall are elegant and luxurious, even a small display of vases, are the Song Dynasty blue and white porcelain. Previous treasure was sold at a high price, the astronomical number that make people become speechless to buy a crown, for Huang Beiyu is simply crazy. She would not spend so much money, if she want, directly rob it over is enough. Ladies and gentlemen, today finale treasure is mysterious ancient jade from ancient East, called the Beasts Without Bound. Gorgeous chief auctioneer holding a exquisite circular jadeite tray out, just only that disc is worth hundreds of millions. What kind of treasure need to use such precious jade tray to set off? On this 1-inch large black jade, carved 10,000 kinds of animal pattern, vivid and lifelike, wonderful workmanship excelling nature. And the legend, this piece of black jade has a mysterious power, can transcend life and death, reversing time and space. Ah! The following are laugh, it turned out to be a marvelous black jade, to think it was a great treasure. This era of advanced technology, who would believe in this strange power nonsense? Rather than looking at that black jade, it is better to look at this gorgeous auctioneer, really natural rarity, that figure, that face, tsk, man looked their half lower body urge incessantly, women are unable to help heart itching. Soft gauze wrapped beautiful woman's body, in front her well-rounded on the verge of coming out, beautiful woman holding jade tray, bent down, so charming let people one by one observe the mysterious black jade. But this time, whose eyes will be on black jade? From the start already been staring at beauty semi-exposed mellow, can't wait to rush up and ruthlessly ravage her. Really bunch of idiots, so precious thing, actually no one know. Huang Beiyu coldly sneered, from the moment she entered, she can feel a powerful appeal from black jade. Chapter 2. Across she took out a gun, pushed the people who blocking in front, moving forward. What push? Do you know? A gun. An arrogant beauty pushed by her saw there is gun in her hand, suddenly shrieked. Auctioneer on stage is trained, her action very fast, hearing the sound immediately like guarding black jade leaving at once. But, even though she was fast, how can she be faster than gun in Huang Beiyu hand? Hand raised and gun drop, a bullet passing through the crowd, straight into the forehead of the beautiful auctioneer, even a miserable shout not cried, immediately get killed. Raising her hand, accurately holding the black jade, in dark black pupil, revealed icily arrogant edge. All this happen in the blink of eye. When those well-trained bodyguards reacted, Huang Beiyu already arrogantly turned around and walking out. The other ants, she disdained to use her hands. Huang Beiyu, the beast without bound really led you here, a cold voice sounded behind her. Beiyu brow slightly jumped, this voice, without turning she know who it is. Lance, her archenemy, from South America has been chasing her till here, whole 5 years. Did he not understand the gap between him and her? On her cold face is there are no any expression. Huang Beiyu put the thing called the Beasts Without Bound black jade into her pocket. Huang Beiyu, you'd better give up, more than 200 country had issued an order to kill, You can't escape. Lance looked at fine back of Huang Beiyu, in cold tone, has trace of small unwilling. After I give up, how your country will treat me. Huang Beiyu lightly turned around, eyes filled with disdain and coldness. With your talent, the country will put you in important position. Lance took the opportunity, said. If can put this stunning also domineering woman to their own use, it is the best. What a joke. The response to him only this cold words. Looked at Huang Beiyu ridiculing eyes, Lance cannot help but sighed. That year matter, shut up. In Huang Beiyu pitch-black cold eyes, suddenly gained a bit more hate. That year her parents loyal to the organization, go through fire and water, but in the end, only get to be erased final. After death still need to bear traitor charges. These bloody facts, torturing her day and night, in midnight dreams she will be awakened by her own hatred. Humph. Want me to work for your country? So many years, your people not enough killed by me. Once I submit, can I still survive? Coldly looked at Lance, this handsome Nordic man. When first met, he was gentle and refined, like a burst of spring wind. Regrettably, they are in hostile standpoint. As long as you are willing, I will help you. I am not willing. Cold and arrogantly raise her head. Auction hall has been surrounded by special forces, countless pitch-black muzzle pointed against her. No fear. Under the showy red hair, a stunning unparalleled face, even though it is cold, it also has power to stun people's heart. Sweetly smiled, in split second many people become absent-minded. Careful. Lance shouted, seeing Huang Beiyu smile he also become absent-minded for moment, but he soon sober up. But still a step too late. Huang Beiyu already break one special forces member's neck, easily arrive at cruise ship deck. Chapter 3. The strong being absolute one. Lance, want to catch me, you are 100 years too early. She is this world most outstanding assassin. Turning her hand palm up she gathers the clouds, turning her hand palm down she turns them to rain. Nothing she can't do, other than that who is not willing to fight her, no one can become her enemy. Hand raised, a huge black-colored goshawk flew from night sky, the sharp eagle's eyes, let people who look at it become terrified. Sharp claws gripping Huang Beiyu's arm, the huge wings extended, immediately carry her to vast horizon. That fire-red hair in pitch-black colored night arrogantly rise. At the same time, on cruise ship countless heavy machine gun shooting at her like crazy. Lance walked to deck, looking at disappearing small figure in the sky, said to person beside him, "Is it ready? Chief, preparation is ready." Above decided with price of sacrificing a city, to kill Huang Beiyu. Lance looked up toward distant sky, a bit disappointed. I already said, one day, you will pay for your haughtiness and coldness, Beiyu. Chest feeling a sharp pain, Beiyu, many years hunting you, in fact every time I could not do it. But this time, is really farewell. 10 minutes after, a city located in border of Jiangsu province suddenly occurred a huge explosion. Huge mushroom cloud shine the night sky brightly. Fortunately the inhabitant of that city, already moved out ahead of schedule, so no one injured. Only when exploded, there is a strange black fierce light shot out from the mushroom cloud. That shape, is a huge black dragon, fiercely rushed to the sky. Beiyu dynasty Nanyi country late night at capital, no one saw a black fiendish aura, like 10,000 beasts stampeding, rolled into ancestral hall in backyard of first princess residence. In midst of dim candle light, a pair of pitch-black but cold eyes slowly opened. Looked at swaying light, the cold pupil did not move. After a long time, Huang Beiyu slowly digested extra memory in her mind. Groaning weakly, she had to accept a fact she, transmigrated. Huang Beiyu, the current emperor elder sister Hui Wen first princess's first daughter, such prominent identity yet is the entire Nanyi country joke. Coward, ignorant, cannot learn martial art, natural sickly person. Imperial physicians said she could not live past 18 years old. Not only that, she was real idiot, as first princess only daughter, yet let those commoner born brothers and sisters bullied worse than slave. Her father's concubine is domineering and arrogant, father disgust and cold to her, since 4 years ago after Hui Wen first princess death, her status at home drop 1,000 zhong in one fall. This time because speaking wrong words, offended his father's most favorite concubine, concubine Qin, She was punished to kneeling in ancestral hall for a day and night, without eat and drink. This body from small has been frail and sick, this kneeling same as wanting her life. But no one thought, by chance in the modern world know as ultimate weapon Huang Beiyu, transmigrated to this body of 12 years old. Slowly from the cold ground stood up, Huang Beiyu looked a glance at Hui Wen First Princess Memorial Tablet in Ancestral Hall, don't know is because of light, she actually felt a weak light flashed from Memorial Tablet. Warmly like a kind look toward her. Chapter 4. The strong being absolute Tu Beiyu lightly sighed, said, "Don't worry, since I have occupied your daughter body, I would not let her die in vain." Her words finished, that light on tablet then gradually dispersed. Paid attention to her plain white skirt, Huang Beiyu slowly exit the ancestral hall. Annoying, don't at here, there's still a person in ancestral hall. Feminine woman voice sounded in a dark corner of the yard. What are you afraid of? What can the sickly ghost inside can do? Didn't you said she is an idiot? She even can't compare to slave. Sickly ghost. Idiot. She even can't compare to slave, as expected of previous Huang Beiyu, too weak. But people is shy are shy what? Baby, faster, I can't stand it anymore Xisuosuo undressing sound, then there was rapid panting and not harmonious ramming sound. Just coming and met this kind of thing, unlucky. Huang Beiyu slowly walked over, moonlight slowly move over, shine her face. Pale complexion, thin little face, because all year round sickly weak and eating medicine she appear to have deep eye socket, kneeling for a day and night she seems more haggard, her hair are messy, white-colored dress fluttering. In corner, a sturdy man pressing a 17 to 18 years old girl on wall, excitedly do the action, completely didn't know a deadly crisis is slowly approaching. That girl began to feel pleasure, lightly whining, two snow-white legs tightly wrapped the waist of man. Within ancestral hall is quiet, this sound seemed to be more ear-piercing. First Princess Memorial Tablet is inside, this two people actually here shamelessly doing this kind thing, don't know to respect departed spirit a bit. Is because the daughter First Princess left is sickly, so they can regardless of the law and of natural morality. Huang Beiyu put cold expression on her clear little face, one step across, and by chance the girl looked up, suddenly seeing her floating white dress scared quivering. Gee, ghost, how is there a ghost? Inside dead ghost are, almost, baby. Inside throat only had time to issue fuzzy sound, clunk sound, the man's neck was twisted off. That girl eyes wide open and cry out in fear. Want to die do not hesitate to shout. Throwing off that man corpse on ground, Huang Beiyu pick up the girl's upper outer garment wipe her hand. That disgusting lowly man, even killing him make her disgusted, if not because he have the impertinence to insult the death Hui when First Princess, she was disdain to kill him. Dirtying her own hands. The girl heard this, as expected tightly closed her mouth, whole body shaking like sifting chaff. Bright moonlight, this face, isn't it third miss who kneeling at ancestral hall? Why she can, did she see the sickly 3 Mrs. Ghost come to claim life? I am not a ghost wipe clean her hand, Huang Beiyu lips corner perked up a complete ice-cold smiling expression, what you saw, if you dare to reveal a word to outside, the end is same with him, don't think of going to complain to concubine Qin, I am not the previous Huang Beiyu. No one dare to take their own life to joke, especially after seeing her mercilessly twist off a person's neck. Pei Xiong at moment in her heart has only one idea, this third miss, is definitely possessed by ghosts. The her just now, simply like a surer reincarnation, that part ruthless and ice-cold, let her hair on her body to raise. Chapter 5. The strong being absolute 3 thin and weak body also not like before too weak to stand up to the wind one blow and down, the third miss right now, from head to toe emit a graceful nobility aura. She did not see it wrong, this is really that waste, sickly ghost, good for nothing soft egg? No matter how, she already felt the third miss right now is the one she can't afford to offend. Third young miss, I was wrong before, please spare me a little life, later I don't dare to do any more. She thought of scene before together with other people bullied third miss, Pei Xiong only feel her neck become colder. She is only a maid, had somewhat good look, but to be born petty and low, usually very jealous of those real nobility young miss, to Huang Beiyu this weak and incompetent, but his first princess resident's legal young miss identity even more envious and jealous. Therefore she always doubly bully her. She wanted to prove, young miss so what? She also can freely beat and scold young miss. Her position also above legal young miss. But now, even if she borrowed 10 guts, she also don't dare to bully third young miss again. Want me to spare your life, need to see your mouth obedient or not. Originally just now she ought to kill this maid together with the man, because in Huang Beiyu memory, before she was bullied not less by this maid. Only, she thought she still has a little use, for the moment she temporarily decide keep her little life. This slave will certainly obedient, dealt with the body faintly instructed, Huang Beiyu directly walking out this silent ancestral hall. It turns out the rumored first princess residence waist, actually so overbearing. Cold voice like a gust of wind, suddenly rang. Huang Beiyu surprised, who? Able to quietly hiding in surrounding, and she did not detect it a little bit. Once the voice out, naturally she can accurately determine the position, raising her head, she saw on leafy tree inside ancestral hall, a pure white robe hanging down, moving with the wind. Ink jade black long hair spread on white robe, a moment moonlight seemed somewhat blurred. Huang Beiyu frowned a little. Exquisite face that let people breath almost stop, moonlight like white robe in contrast with fair skin color even more brilliance, sword-like eyebrow, light purple-colored eyes gleamed with the reflection of rippling waves of water in the dim light of the night, like a demon but not a demon, like a god but not a god. Under the straight high-nose bridge, light pink-colored lips yet flashed a devil-like light that let people be dazzled and stunned. Bursts of breeze blowing over, few strand of black hair lightly stroke the cheek, that facial feature how to look it still incomparably perfect, without any flaws, seizing every all the snow moon wind flower in earth, yet will not seem like feminine female. Within his expression severe killing air coincidentally showing his domineering aura. He leaning on a branch, purple-colored eyes because moonlight shading reveal a bit demon evil aura. Huang Beiyu hugged her hand, looking at him. This person does not exist in memory of Huang Beiyu, he is not only not a person of first princess residence, and also definitely not person of Nanyi country, able to appear silently like this around her, this person definitely not simple. However, no matter who he is, it entirely not concern her matter. Mind your own business, and life will be long. Retracting her gaze, Huang Beiyu without looking back walked out. What a callous arrogant little girl. Feng Lianyi faintly smiled, within his face mixed with evil demon and heaven god, two kinds completely different traits, making people's soul to be intoxicated. Chapter 6. The strong being absolute for Huang Beiyu, unexpectedly coming to first princess residence, actually there is such unexpected harvest. When need to be cruel not lenient, when need to be cold also not looking back, he to this little fellow, suddenly feel very interested. Your Highness, in the darkness came a low call. Waved his hands, white-colored robe sleeve flipped, ghostly figure instantly disappeared into in midst of night. Beiyu dynasty. Flowing cloud pavilion. This is first princess residence's most remote courtyard, covered in grass, tree shadow dancing, alone at night really can be startled by those swaying tree just like in horror movies. Soon after Hui Wen first princess passed away, there is a doctor said she was contracted a serious illness and will be contagious, let her move to this long abandoned yard. She used to live in bluish-green water courtyard, now is occupied by concubine Shui and second young Miss Xiao Yun. Second young Miss Xiao Yun, 15-year-old 3-star summoner, within young generation of girls in Nanyi country, she considered rarely seen genius. Besides the current crown prince, it is Xiao Yun limelight most flourishing. Therefore Xiao Yun is extremely doted at home, concubine Qin who gave birth to first son Xiao Zhongqi also not dare to provoke her easily. Xiao Yun and her mother concubine Shui seems like not particularly harsh to Huang Beiyu, within her memory not like concubine Qin that kind of abusing her, only haughty Xiao Yun never put this waste little sister in her eyes. When Huang Beiyu seriously ill, it is also concubine Shui who deliver medicine to her. Wrong, deliver medicine. Huang Beiyu push open flowing cloud pavilion door, quickly returned to bleak dark room, light the candle, pick up the usual medicine jar concubine Shui deliver and smell it. Quickly frowned, As expected, it's odd. Inside this medicine jar has a trace of poison. Taking it once will not be fatal, but after long time, body will become more and more weak, and finally whole body become limp, even not die but only can lie down on bed for lifetime. So malicious, no wonder Huang Beiyu's body always this poor, even when first princess alive, asking so many famous physicians still also helpless. This kind minuscule amount of poison is difficult to find, also only Huang Beiyu this kind in modern world who received variety of poison tasting person, with a smell can know. What a good concubine Shui, first princess is not unkind to you, without first princess, you right now only a mistress without status, you don't know to be grateful, instead use this kind vicious mean to harm her daughter. Huang Beiyu sat down, slowly straighten her breath, she is not in hurry, these people, she will settle it one by one. Death, too convenient for them. Sky almost bright, Huang Beiyu did not sleepy, try to meditate on the bed, gathering qi for a while. The weird thing is, every time when qi entered Dantian, it will immediately cleanly disappear. Fuck. Really is a waste. Sick and weak is enough, even qi also unable to condense. In this era of martial revere, powerful countries stand side by side, constantly warring, strength is the only standard to determine a person's status. No wonder as first princess daughter, dubbed as Princess Beiyu, such showy identity also can reduce to a joke in Nanyi country. The weak, no one will sympathize. Only the strong will be respected. Huang Beiyu quickly sorted out this world information from her mind. Carter continent, continued the more than 100 years chaotic period, because of upheaval and in decline, martial art flourishing, war opportunity let warrior in this era highly respected. As long as strong enough, you can run rampant in any country. Battle and chaos created a number of occupations, of which those who practiced martial arts were the largest, accounting for about 4/5 of the population being cultivators or practitioners. The rest of the occupations, like summoners, pill refining pharmacists, illusionists, etc., had strict requirements for both ancestry and talent, making them very rare. With these occupations, as long as the person had a little bit of success, they were still counted as extraordinary beings on the continent. The Xiao family, Huang Beiyu's father's house, is one of Nanyi country's largest family with a martial arts heritage. They are deeply rooted in Nanyi country, and the family has had a lot of martial arts talent. The incumbent father is a highly respected 7-star summoner, whose summoned beast was a fire leopard. Except that he married the princess, becoming her consort, which wasn't a good match. Although her martial arts were very good, their child would have been unable to enter the summoner ranks. On the other hand, the second Miss Xiao Yun had inherited her father's summoner lineage. From an early age, she had shown talent as a summoner and was now well known in Nanyi country. This summoner occupation was very similar to Huang Beiyu's personal talent before transmigration. In this time, the summoners and the summoned beast have a contract that allows them to coexist with each other, making it symbiotic relationship. While she totally subdued the beast, until they were willing to take orders from her. Although both involve cooperation with beasts, the difference between the two is immediately visible. Since this is such a popular occupation, she did not have to worry about her current body not being able to condense qi. Taming beasts, this kind of thing, she was their ancestor. As the day dawned, Huang Beiyu stretched lazily, before standing and picking up the cold cup of tea to drink. Suddenly, the door burst open with a bang, and a bloody figure fell in. Miss Huang Beiyu immediately put down the cup and went over to the body on the ground. Propping them up and moving the hair away from the forehead, she saw that it was her maidservant since her childhood, Dong Ling. Among the intrigue and strife everywhere in the princess's household, Dong Ling was the only one who hadn't betrayed her. The two girls only had each other through the hard times in Huang Beiyu's memories. Dong Ling, what happened? Dong Ling looked up and seeing that she was all right began to cry in her arms. Miss, your slave was worried that something had happened to you. I went to seek concubine Qin, who knew, looking at her servant's body covered in welts, Huang Beiyu knew exactly what had happened. That concubine Qin was arrogant and despotic. She relied on Xiao Yuan Cheng's favor, as well as her eldest son Xiao Zhongqi, and considered herself to be the headmistress of the household. Huang Beiyu was bullied by her for so many years, before dying helpless in the cold ancestral hall. She clenched her fist in hatred. Today's enmity, I will return it times 10 in the future. Picking Dong Ling up, she lifted her onto the bed. Dong Ling was stunned for a moment, and looked strangely at Huang Beiyu. How did her miss suddenly have so much strength? Before, even lifting a bucket of water was difficult. It seems that today, her miss was not the same as before. Her eyes flashed with a noble light, as if she was born to have that kind of haughtiness as she gazed at the world. Such look was actually so good-looking. Dong Ling simply stared at her. Was she dreaming? Miss. Was this really the third miss that she had served since childhood? You rest first, and don't speak. I will go out and find some medicine for you. Huang Beiyu said dismissively. She could see the curiosity in Dong Ling's eyes, but now was not the time to explain. Enjoy. She grabbed a black cloak from the cupboard, draping it around her body. She pulled the hood down to hide her face and opened the door to head out. The flowing cloud pavilion was the most remote courtyard of the princess's household. If not given to Huang Beiyu to estranged her, then it would basically be empty. She easily hopped over the 2 or 3 meter wall. Although her current body has no internal force, she did not forget things learned due to modern science. Even in this era, she can still be considered a foreign expert. The capital of Nanyi country is the city Linhua. It is a historic huge city with a large population that has plenty of well-developed businesses. Walking down the street, both sides of the road are lined with magnificent buildings. The wide streets can accommodate more than a dozen carriages lined next to each other, and there are plenty of shops bustling with activities on the side. There are many street vendors from various countries, wearing a variety of outfits, so Huang Beiyu dressed in a large black cloak did not draw any special attention. In the eastern part of the city is the Buji-er market, which is the largest trading market in Nanyi country. It not only facilitated trade for a variety of herbs, gems, and other treasures. It also accommodated transactions for mercenary trade unions. Every day, hundreds of thousands of mercenaries come to take a task, or to resell materials that they personally obtained. From her memories, she could tell that the previous Huang Beiyu had never been to the Buji-er market. Arriving at the door, she could hear many people's voices, while several groups of mercenaries with strong, muscular physiques went in and out. A few large, dark, and solidly muscled mercenaries passed in front of Huang Beiyu. Her height was such that she actually only up to a few mercenaries' waist. Ha ha ha. Little doll, don't come here to play, a mercenary said gruffly. A mercenary's temperamental mood and recklessness is already familiar to Huang Beiyu due to long years of contact in the modern world, therefore she is no longer scared of such things. Nodding towards them, Huang Beiyu was deftly walked away from the crowd. There were countless market stalls of different sizes. Huang Beiyu scoured the place for stalls selling herbs and medicines. Not only she needed the medicine for Dongling, but she also needed some special herbs to restore her body from the perpetual illness and allow it to completely recover from being poisoned. She did not want to openly oppose the people of Princess's household before she was completely well and strong. As long as it wasn't a one-hit kill, she would not be easily defeated. But, after inquiring about for the items' prices, Huang Beiyu can only be speechless. It was really too much. After so many years of being bullied in the household, Huang Beiyu basically had no money. Although the princess left behind many things, it had all been stolen away. They left her nothing. She understood then that no matter the era or age, money was an extremely important thing. It is imperative that I should make money now. Thinking this way, Huang Beiyu slowly headed towards the other side where the mercenary trade union market was. Spending 10 copper coins to officially register as a mercenary, Huang Beiyu was already feeling the pain because there were only less than 20 copper coins and a smattering of iron coins. Make money, be sure to make money. She headed to the mercenary trade union's task board, a huge white stone wall, covered with a variety of mercenary tasks. Each task had a different difficulty level, and the reward amount is also different. Huang Beiyu ignored the 2 low-leveled task boards, and directly headed to the senior task board to see the requests. The senior task board was not surrounded by a lot of people, but those that dare to come there appear to have great strength. When they looked over and saw Huang Beiyu's small and thin body, they all have a look of bewilderment. Chapter 9, Respect for the Strong. 7. This request is from young master of the Xiao family. Our mercenary group is looking for a close combat fighter that uses a dagger. If you are interested, you may try out. The pay is also very high. At the senior task board, a man posted a new task. It was for entering the famous fog forest at the edge of the capital to look for the Bailing spiritual fruit that was said to enhance spiritual strength. The Bailing fruit is a type of medicine used to consolidate qi. It allows a person's cultivation to be more effective, but the tree takes 3 years to bear one fruit, so it is very precious. A close combat fighter who uses a dagger. Hearing this, Huang Beiyu's lips turned upwards. She had been a dagger master since she was 10 years old. Several people were waiting in front of her to register, and Huang Beiyu also squeezed in past them. Her short stature immediately caught people's attention, causing a few large burly mercenaries to laugh. "Child, don't cause trouble. My brothers are trying to get down to business," a mercenary heartily laughed. In a flash, Huang Beiyu had reached from under her cloak and grabbed the dagger from the mercenary's waist, pointing it at his chest, as if presenting a flower. If not for the dagger being too short, the sword would have impaled itself in his neck. This 12-year-old thin body was really inconvenient. The mercenary face turned white, at the same time the people around also turned to look, shocked to see this scene. That little girl actually has such quick speed and movement, her strength was probably that of a senior fighter. In this world, the strong were respected. Huang Beiyu's performance displaying a little bit of strength, has quickly turned the dismissive eyes into ones filled with respect. She handed the dagger back to the mercenary, before deliberately making her voice sound hoarse and saying, "I have offended. No, I was wrong. Dear warrior, please forgive my earlier rudeness." The mercenary who had lost face did not get angry but bowed, apologizing to Huang Beiyu. Such an honest temperament increased her impression of this world and its mercenaries. "You are very powerful, warrior sir, would you like to join us on this request?" Just the fact that she came to the task and showed the man her strength, she was sincerely invited to join the group even if she may not meet the requirements. It was clear that in this era, the strong command great respect. Huang Beiyu nodded at him. Of course she would join. As long as the pay was high, she didn't care. "Excuse me warrior sir, your name is..." Drama days when she was registered as a mercenary, she also used this name. This temporarily formed mercenary group was headed by a young Master Xiao. She had previously, though the name was familiar, but when she saw him, Huang Beiyu thought the world was really small. The young Master Xiao turned out to be Xiao Zhongqi, Huang Beiyu's half-brother. At 18 years old, Xiao Zhongqi had good strength. He was a silver-ranked warrior in the empire, he had many military exploits, and looked very handsome. How many girls dream of him? But when they were younger, he liked to tease Huang Beiyu. As he grew up he continued looking for her trouble. The previous Huang Beiyu was very afraid of her big brother and would cry when she saw him. That little bastard hit her, so today, she would be sure to teach him a lesson. "Xiao Fan, this is the senior fighter that you've chosen?" Xiao Zhongqi, riding a tall black horse, wearing fine silver armor, looked down at the small frame of Huang Beiyu. The man called Xiao Fan was in charge of recruiting mercenaries from the mercenary trade union. Hearing Xiao Zhongqi's tone of disdain and suspicion, he quickly went over and whispered a few words in his ear. "Enjoy." Xiao Zhongqi nodded, facing Huang Beiyu, and said, "I, Xiao Zhongqi, was rude." The Xiao name in the Nanyi country can be considered as a large family of good strength. When the name is usually quoted, the other party will be surprised, but here, this little man barely gave any reaction at all. Instead walking past and then lightly getting on another good horse. With that a cold attitude, Xiao Zhongqi let her know that he was a person of good birth. He should be proud master, but this little man, he still had not seen his true strength. For a moment he was shocked. More than 24 mercenaries marching toward the fog forest outside the city. They were halfway there, when suddenly a team with very impressive ranked members flickered across the main road, and that team had at least more than one summoner. As they walked forward, they could feel a hot flame and cold air mingling. In addition to these, over the team, there are 2 people flying one after the other, revealing that they are summoners. In front there was a man, sitting on a large looming body with purple flames rotating around him. He charged forward, dyeing the whole world purple, dimming the sunlight, making it pale. The Purple Fire Chelin, His Royal Highness Prince Purple Fire Chelin, one Wuling too tough. The mercenary group immediately stopped to watch. Everyone's faces exposed a look of absolute worship. Summoner, that is the most enviable career. To become a summoner. Don't know how many people had this dream. Being able to call oneself a summoner is already very tough, but on the mainland they were considered the absolute cream of the crop. And their battle-wild prince, who was only 16 years old, is already 9-star intermediate summoner, and not only that, his summon is one of the Wuling mainland Purple Fire Chelin. He is the most talented summoner in the past century summoner throughout Carter continent. In Nanyi country, at the mere mention of the battle-wild prince, the excited reverence that occurred could not be matched. His Royal Highness Prince is the pride of the entire South Wing. At that distance, Huang Bei, you could feel the charged atmosphere of the Purple Fire Chelin, who comes out of an insolent atmosphere. As a sacred beast with the supreme fire attribute, it was particularly arrogant. On its back, between the intertwined purple and red flames, a black-clad handsome boy sat upon it. Born with a noble elegant atmosphere such that the people around him would feel in their heart that this young teenager is worthy of admiration. 16 years old, a 9-star intermediate summoner, calling out one of the Wuling the Purple Fire Chelin. As this information drifted across Huang Beiyu's mind, she thought this is the real genius Zhongxing Penju, he was really favored. Tien Zhongxing Penju meaning is the stars set of the moon. As in many stars, although bright, around pale in comparison to the real thing and can only set this off. In comparison, the second miss of the Xiao family Xiao Yun's light dimmed down immediately. Just as the gap between the dust and the moon, why did Xiao Yun not understand who could really be called a genius? The magnificent team was soon in front of them, frenetic bursts of flame blowing about. The mercenary group of more than 20 people stopped when they reached them. Those who could not withstand the sporadic bursts of flames released from the Purple Fire Chelin were blown back. One of the Wuling, it was definitely a legendary animal. Of everyone, only Huang Beiyu stayed cold, her black cloak whipped about, her expression calm as usual. That team of people noticed this strange, thin cloaked man on the roadside. Within a temporarily formed mercenary regiment, there is such a powerful, calm force. Tien Wuling refers to the auspicious animals in Chinese folklore: phoenix, turtle, tiger, dragon. Sometimes these animals are tied to certain colors to represent elemental capabilities, i.e. blue dragon, white tiger, red phoenix, black turtle. A Chelin Kirin is sometimes included among these and is thought to be a good omen. Usually the animal is depicted with the body by fire, can also be translated as the spiritual five. Chapter 11, Respect for the Strong. 9. Surrounded by purple, the cold black-robed teenager also stared at Huang Beiyu, his dark eyes flashing with a slight edge. His Royal Highness. Xiao Zhongqi suddenly rode forwards very excited. Prince, did not think I would finally get to see you again. The Purple Fire Chelin was very powerful, even if it wasn't angry no one would dare to get too close. The battle-wild prince glanced at Xiao Zhongqi with dark eyes. Xiao, father, had married Princess Wen Hui, therefore becoming an imperial family Xiao. Additionally, Xiao Zhongqi's strength was also good as he displayed it the last time in the battle between the North and barbarians. He, the prince, did not like families that had timid, cowardly children. Xiao Zhongqi's courage on the battlefield had left a very good impression. Xiao Gongzi, why are you going unarmed into the fog forest? Tien Gongzi means son of Xiao. I was ordered by my father to enter the fog forest and look for the Bailing spiritual fruit. Being able to speak with His Royal Highness, Xiao Zhongqi excitedly blushed. Though the mercenaries behind him were a temporary arrangement, all of them have good skill. They are egotistical and elite soldiers of fortune. Although he was the eldest son of the Xiao family, absolute strength is what commands respect in the Carter continent, so his identity alone cannot convince the public or them. But as long as they see that he has a good relationship with His Royal Highness the Prince, these people will certainly serve him. Phoenix of the battlefield, His Royal Highness Prince of Nanyi Country, on the continent of Kata, was at the peak of being a genius summoner. His name was a symbol of the strong. The ideas Xiao Zhongqi thought up with his little small mind cannot be understood by the battle-wild prince, who just turned away politely. From the fog forest in the distance, there came a loud noise. Thud, 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 thud. Then a sudden roar. In just a moment, grey clouds suddenly clouded the blue sky. The purple fire Cheline was suddenly restless. Raising its head, it also issued a long loud roar. It seemed extremely manic. It seems something went wrong. His Royal Highness the Prince, you should head back towards the palace while we go to inquire about the situation. Riding an eagle spiritual beast, a middle-aged man came up from behind. On his collar, there are 6 stars shining with golden flame pattern. This was actually a 6-star summoner. It's too early to go back to the palace, we'll just go and see. As he said that, they looked up and saw the man in black from the mercenary group make his horse run forward into the fog forest. His eyebrows sank, he didn't know why, but his heart actually flashed with the trace of a strange feeling. He immediately drove the purple fire Cheline forward to catch up. The fog forest was located in the periphery of the empire, although small, but because of the rampant war along the central mainland's border, the risk is also high. A general master would never dare enter it alone. But Huang Beiyu is not afraid. She had a wealth of combat experience from the past, so she can accurately determine the level of risk. Moreover, in the animal world, she is the king. After being in the forest for a while, they could feel the waves of biting cold. The fog forest in front of them had been completely frozen up completely into a world of ice. The horse came to a standstill in front of the ice forest as it was too timid to continue. Huang Beiyu immediately abandoned the horse and continued approaching on foot. From the way her body's blood was boiling up, she can feel that the level of the animal that issued the roar is definitely not less than the purple fire Cheline. The battle-wild prince rushed towards her with the purple fire Cheline. Come on. The battle-wild prince held out his icy hands towards Huang Beiyu. Chapter 12, Respect for the Strong. 10. I wanna be the very best. Phoenix there ever was. Done. To catch them is my real test. To subjugate them to my will and conquer the world is my cause. LOL. JK enjoy PS. I'm really looking forward to this new novel, although I'm just saying, what is it with characters named Shui and hating our main protagonists? First Ning Zuelo, now Shui Sai. Look forward to it. Summary out soon. Smiley-face. The figure under the black cloak raised his eyes slightly, looking up at him, then calmly turned towards the purple fire Cheline and issued an angry growl before giving it a conciliatory pat on its back. Don't get too close. When I say stop, you must stop. A hoarse voice came from under the black cloak. The battle-wild prince raised his eyebrows, for daring to be so arrogant in front of him. She was the first one. Over in the forest, thick clouds began to drop snow, as the wind blew about, falling in the silence of the forest. The tallest of the trees have been frozen, and some animals who escaped too late have also been frozen, and everything seems to have happened only in a moment. The deeper they went, the more uneasy her heart felt. Stop. Huang Beiyu said in a low voice. The battle-wild prince really stopped. Huang Beiyu slid down the back of the purple fire Cheline, her petite figure standing on the thick layer of ice, cloak fluttering in the wind, her small back allowing a kind of noble and proud atmosphere to shine through. She dared to break into terror-filled atmosphere surrounding the purple fire Cheline and the iced-over forest without a trace of fear. Did that mean she was also a summoner? Did she have a few stars? Is she a few stars? And did that mean she had successfully completed a contract with a summoned beast? For the battle-wild prince, this was his first time meeting a mysterious man that he actually had great interest in. Huang Beiyu slowly took a few steps forward. Suddenly her heart skipped a beat, and a strong appeal drilling into her heart. She immediately increased her gait, bolting forward. Hey! The battle-wild prince shouted, but she had already ran out of sight. In the heart of the forest, the frozen trees at that moment all crumbled to the ground, thus forming large and small hills if use. The crystal ice hills reflected the color of the sky, shining brilliantly with blue color. The world seems to become infinitely wide. The black-robed girl stood proudly, her cloak fluttering in the wind, revealing a pair of translucent black eyes. staring straight at the front. The wind blew, whipping the snow like a blizzard. "My name is Huang Bei Yu." Her voice could not be overshadowed by the wind, it was cold yet mighty and proud. Against man and beast, she Huang Bei Yu had never lost. She is the king, the top of the beast world. All the rules, as long as she Huang Bei Yu encountered them, they would all be broken. In response to her voice, a huge ice luan bird appeared in her head. Tien luan bird equals phoenix-type bird. Think Articuno from Pokémon. The ice luan birds flew in the storm as if it was nothing. It beat its huge ice wings, and slowly landed on an ice mound in front of Huang Bei Yu. Because of the animal's powerful pressure, the cracks appeared on the surface of the ice. One of the cracks gradually extended to the foot of Huang Bei Yu. When the last edge reached her toes, it stopped. Huang Bei Yu was still motionless, her expression unchanged, a clear and lonely light in her eyes. The huge ice luan bird glared at her with its emerald eyes. "I am called the ice luan spiritual bird. Little girl, do you want to enter a collaboration contract with me?" With the voice of the ice luan spiritual bird, the surrounding air around Huang Bei Yu cooled rapidly. The black-cloaked body was blown by the wind, attempting to freeze it. But Huang Bei Yu was safe and sound. Even her hair that was fluttering about was not affected by the surrounding cold air. The ice luan spiritual bird's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. Mythical beasts at that level were capable of human-level thought and awareness. This rare spirit bird is famous for being an aloof spiritual beast. Since ancient times, humans had never heard of it completing a collaboration contract with a human. Chapter 13, Fiery Red Hair 1. In case you have not noticed, I have added a page for the new book. If you're interested, please take a look. Smiley face. The title and summary has not been verified as translated correctly, but that is the gist of it. Releases will start Monday, so look forward to it. In addition to being arrogant, the ice luan spiritual bird is one of the most brutal kinds of sacred beast. All the information in this world about the ice luan spiritual bird had quickly been transferred into Huang Bei Yu's mind. Her mouth turned up slightly, in the blizzard, her eyes targeting the powerful mythical beast ice luan spiritual bird. Completing a collaboration contract. Ice luan spiritual bird and humans never concluded a collaboration contract. When did she ever have to complete a collaboration contract between her and her beasts? "Obey me, ice luan spiritual bird." Roar, or a loud booming clack sounded, the surrounding mounds of ice shattered, a huge crack ran through the ice covering the entire forest. "A little human, dare take such liberties?" Furious, the ice luan spiritual bird released an oppressively charged air, causing the entire forest to be shrouded in fog that any approaching person would not even dare enter. At that sound, Huang Bei Yu moved rapidly across the cracked ice. The spiritual beast's wings shot down ice, and she sped straight through the gap, quickly heading towards the center of the fog forest, Moonset Valley. "Trying to escape, little girl?" roared the ice luan spiritual bird, turned to catch up with her. "Escape? In the end, wouldn't they see who would escape?" Huang Bei Yu's mouth quirked upwards with her usual self-confidence. The nearer she got to Moonset Valley, the compulsion in her heart became more and more intense. Closing in, she jumped off the cliff, hands open, without any extra tools, quickly falling between the high cliff. A huge roar sounded overhead. The ice luan spiritual bird had caught up with her, its wings beating. It had originally wanted to shoot her down and break her into a million pieces. As if she had predicted the ice luan spiritual bird's movements, Huang Bei Yu suddenly grabbed the vines on the cliffside. Anticipating the ice luan bird's movements, Huang Bei Yu suddenly grabbed the vines on the cliff, her body swinging, until she was standing firmly against the cliff wall. She then started running, grabbing the vines to aid her as she climbed up the cliff, until she held onto a crack in the cliff gap. Then she let go of vines, causing herself to fall. The ice luan spiritual bird below was slammed by the soles of Huang Bei Yu's feet as she flew down. With the huge stature of the spiritual beast, there was no way for it to turn back and fly away between the narrow cliff walls. Huang Bei Yu landed safely on the ice luan spiritual bird's head, but all this had happened in the blink of an eye. The air surrounding it was frozen. She laid her hand, through the arctic cold air bursting from the bird, and onto its head. Again, "Submit to me, ice luan spiritual bird." Innumerable amounts of black gas escaped from the palm of her hand that pierced through the hard ice and drilled into the Iceland spiritual bird's skull. The beast roared, the Iceland spiritual bird head tilted upwards, as it constantly roared at the sky. Its emerald green eye was quickly covered by the thick black gas, then with a black flash, it quickly retreated. The Iceland spirit bird's magical transparent emerald pupils had become a thick dark green. Seeing this change, Huang Bei Yu revealed a satisfied smile. When a beast caught her attention, there were only two paths. Submit to her, or die. Obviously this sacred beast decided to choose the former, obey. For summoners of this era, are not the same. Huang Bei Yu will not easily get into a collaboration contract because once the contract was bound, she the summoner and the sacred beast's life and death will be closely linked together. If their luck wasn't good enough, and they encounter an enemy more powerful than themselves and died, then summoner basically had no way no or out as they would die too. This type of uninsured deal, she Huang Bei Yu, would never do. She took her hand slowly off the Iceland spirit bird's head. On her blooded palm with large traces of frostbite, lies a piece of big black jade. Chapter 14, Fiery Red Hair, 2, Last Chappie for the weak Smilerface. The beasts without boundaries. If not for the beasts without boundaries, then she would not gamble on trying to subdue such a powerful beast. There was simply no way to know how much power the beasts without boundaries contained. In her time this jade has been gathering dust for a long while. Master. Once the beast decided to obey, the owner will be able to communicate telepathically, so Huang Bei Yu was already able to hear the Iceland spirit bird's voice in her mind. If I had known that Master was such a powerful summoner, I would not have resisted. Master, please forgive my rudeness. The Iceland spirit bird's arrogant attitude had disappeared. At the hands of the Huang Bei Yu it spoke meekly. Once the sacred beast surrendered to the human, there was an absolute change of heart. Huang Bei Yu patted his head. Since it had been subdued into being her animal, there was currently no need to hide the truth about herself, so she told the truth. My body is currently very weak, I believe you can also sense it. My body only has a sliver of strength, so before I fully recover, I need you to protect me. The Iceland spirit bird had sensed that Huang Bei Yu's body was empty. Since she was a summoner of uncommon strength, he thought that Huang Bei Yu had deliberately hidden her strength. He did not really think her body had no strength. Knowing this information, the Iceland spirit bird wasn't frustrated. For a human without the slightest strength to force it to surrender wasn't a shameful thing, but rather, something very scary. A summoner usually wouldn't have the strength to force a beast if their body didn't have power, so the fact that she had none and yet could force him to surrender. What an extraordinary yet horrific thought. If his master was powerful, what then could be done? Not using her full strength yet being able to make a beast yield, throughout the ages, he had never heard of such a thing. My master, rest assured, I swear to protect master and keep you safe. For such a powerful master, didn't it go without saying? Of course he would follow her to death. Because he wanted to know, when Huang Bei Yu recovered fully, to what extent was her strength. Huang Bei Yu nodded, and briefly explained, usually you must be hidden, do not let people discover your presence, but when I call, you must come out. In this strange continent, there is danger at any time, she must always remember to give herself a way out. Not being able to guard herself, it was better not to show off for the time being. Yes, master. Let's go. Ice wings flapping and flying, the wings stirring up into the wind and snow, a huge Iceland spirit bird appeared over the ice forest. Wings spread wide, soaring up high. On the Iceland spirit bird's back, there was a petite figure standing on top, wearing a black cloak. The cloak blew open, allowing the long hair like a flame to drift out. Huang Bei Yu was also slightly surprised. She had just found out, whenever she used the beast without boundaries, her hair would suddenly become the insolently bright fiery red. But also her face would change, getting close to her appearance in the 21st century. This change could be controlled. As long as she disconnected for the beast without boundaries, she could revert to her sickly look. In this way, it would be more convenient. Your Highness, isn't that one of the Wuling, the Iceland spiritual bird? The six-star summoner Shen Yang asked, looking up at the huge Iceland spiritual bird in the sky with disbelief. Chapter 15, Fiery Red Hair. 3. Shenyang's summoned beast was so frightened by the powerful aura of the Ice-Swan spirit bird, it immediately retreated inside the hiding space, shivering in fear, not daring to come out. Within the vicinity of the beast, with the exception of the battlefield prince's purple fire Cheline, no one dared to show up. Too strong. A super beast who had frozen the whole fog forest. That power is simply abnormal. Those who dared go against it would die. The battle-wild prince's eyes narrowed slightly. Speaking telepathically to the purple fire Cheline, he said, "Between the two of you, who is stronger?" The purple fire Cheline proudly raised his head and said, "Only if he and his contracted summoner are stronger than you, otherwise I will not lose." Summoners and their beasts. After concluding the contract, not only are the two linked through life and death, even their ability will be closely related. If the summoner is advanced in rank, then the beast will be promoted accordingly. This is why, though some spirit beasts were powerful and arrogant, they would also choose a summoner to conclude their own contract, as it is more efficient. Basically equal to double the training with less work, such a big advantage was very attractive to both the beast and the summoner. Hearing the purple fire Cheline's words, the battle-wild prince looked up at the red-haired girl on the back of the Ice-Swan spirit bird. Even if you could not see the appearance, from the stature that could be gleaned, she should be around 11 years of age. That young, but a 9-star summoner? It was vital to know that in the entire Carter continent, the number of 9-star summoners were not many. A 12-year-old 9-star summoner, what kind of abnormal level was that? His proud heart was exactly the same as his summoned beast. The cold-hearted young man did not know when his heart had been touched. Red hair, the same color of fire, really bright and dazzling. Shenyang turned his head and said, "Your Highness, the Ice-Swan spirit bird has appeared. You must tell His Majesty this news." Following the successful completion of the contract between His Royal Highness and the purple fire Cheline, one of the Wuling, the Ice-Swan spirit bird, had now also appeared in the Nanyi country. This was great news. It showed that the gods were also concerned about the Nanyi country. This must be reported as soon as possible to His Majesty. His Majesty would probably use all of the country's power to get the red-haired girl to stay in Nanyi country. She is the Ice-Swan spirit bird's contractor. Shenyang's mood was quite jubilant. If not for the fact that his spirit bird was afraid of coming out, he would immediately rush back to the palace. "Mr. Shin, you are well informed. Are you able to see her rank?" the battle-wild prince lightly asked. Shenyang frowned, thinking. He had been considering this problem, but he could not understand, because the red-haired girl depths seemed as deep as the bottomless ocean. He has been thinking, it simply did not allow people to see through her strength. "I cannot see through her strength, but a 6-star summoner will be able to summon a primary animal. The Ice-Swan spirit bird is one of the Wuling. That and His Highness Purple Fire Cheline are at the same level. I am afraid that she is no less than a 9-star." Shenyang inferred cautiously, but it could be said that if he knew that Huang Beiyu was now not even a 1-star summoner, he would immediately vomit blood and die. Not even a star, yet able to conquer such a beast. On the whole Carter continent, only the abnormal strength of Huang Beiyu was able to do this. While they were still speaking, the Ice-Swan spirit bird had landed, causing large cracks on the sheet of ice. An ice wing tilted, allowing Huang Beiyu to step down slowly. Chapter 16, Fiery Red Hair. 4. The black cloak had been pulled down to cover the face. Under the hood, strands of red hair streaming down, covering her face. Underneath it hides a stunning beauty that exudes a cold yet elegantly mysterious temperament. Seeing that the contract between the Ice-Swan spirit bird and the summoner had been concluded, Shenyang cannot help but have respect. Without the testing assessment and just by looking behind her at the Ice-Swan spirit bird, you could see that her strength was absolutely above his own. "Summoner, is it your first time coming to Nanyi country?" Shenyang asked with a tone of respect. Huang Beiyu nodded. "First time, it could be considered her first time here." "Summoner, may I ask, your name is?" Shenyang asked, but it was immediately followed by loud shouting. "Drama Days! Drama Days!" At first, Huang Beiyu did not react to the name Drama Days, but thinking back during the registration at the mercenary trade union where she used this name instead of her real one, did she then turn her head back at them? Xiao Zhongqi led a group of mercenaries, braving the wind and snow as they rushed over with a look of excitement on everyone's face. Drama days, it is a great honor to be part your mercenary group. Xiao Zhongqi said, shivering. The surrounding wind and ice made it too cold, and with the Ice-Swan spirit bird there, the temperature was extremely low. Despite that being the case, Xiao Zhongqi's face was red with excitement, his eyes sparking. Huang Beiyu nodded lightly as she looked at Xiao Zhongqi, but she was laughing in her mind. If he only knew that the summoner he was so respectful of now was actually the often bullied waste of a sister. What kind of emotions would he feel? Being the summoner of the Ice-Swan spirit bird, even if she was proud and lofty to heaven, it would be forgiven. Therefore Xiao Zhongqi did not have any frustration or embarrassment towards the cold treatment that Huang Beiyu gave him, but instead he had a growing sense of excitement. Shenyang, afraid that this young master would be too rash and would offend the powerful summoner, quickly said, "Drama days, you should come to Nanyi country. As an honored guest of our South country, you shall not lack for anything. Our Majesty would welcome you. I have been staying in Nanyi country recently, prior to recovering her full strength." Huang Beiyu did not want to get into any battles. After all, in the princess household, her home, there are still a lot of things for her to settle. Shenyang's eyes lit up. That is great. He enthused and broke his usual reticence and glanced at His Royal Highness the Prince in excitement. For those who have a good strength, any country will try to retain them. With frequent wars, strength is equivalent to everything. Moreover, with the power of the Ice-Swan spirit bird summoner, Nanyi country's military advantage will go up a notch. For the next Phoenix battlefield, in behalf of Nanyi country, I welcome you. That their master would invite an outsider to the battlefield, it was a challenge, but also a great surprise. Nanyi country had too much of a need. Huang Beiyu had left a favorable impression on His Royal Highness the Prince. While they were in the ice forest, he was afraid that she wouldn't be able to stand the chill, so he let her sit on the purple fire chileen. Although it was their first meeting, the fact that His Royal Highness the Prince was willing to take care of her, an unknown person, caused her to be most moved. She'd always been rich and powerful. Treat her with grace and she'd return the favor, else she would kill your family. Till that day, I thank His Royal Highness the Prince, Huang Beiyu replied, bowing slightly. One of the strong 9-star summoner had actually promised to stay. The hearts and minds of the people were slightly surprised. Chapter 17, Fiery Red Hair, 5, but then thinking about it, he then understood. This aloof and mysterious person was probably just thanking him for the kind act of allowing him to ride on the purple fire chileen. It just took a little effort on his part, but the fact that this person would take it to heart displayed the grace in their character, and he was very fond of this type of person. "Sir, where are you staying, if I may ask?" In the Carter continent, for those who were equal in strength, referred to each other as Lord, Sir, Daren, or Your Excellency. I have just recently arrived in your country, and I have not yet found a place to stay. Huang Beiyu had just finished replying, when on the side an excited Xiao Zhongqi spoke. "If Shi Tian Daren doesn't mind, you can live in my house. My father and mother would be very happy to welcome you. If he could become friends with this strong Shi Tian, his father will be very happy, and at that time, Xiao Yun, that little girl, will certainly be mad. He would see if she still dared to be so arrogant." Where his mind went, how could Huang Beiyu not understand? "My mind is still pondering the grudge against you, smelly boy. How could I help you? That I did not deal with you today should be considered your good luck." In this, she did not want to expose the real identity of Shi Tian, so how could she live long in the princess house? "Her home, thank you, young Master Xiao, but I am a quiet person, and do not like to be bothered." Her tone was one of light refusal. Xiao Zhongqi suddenly had a look of disappointment. These masters like their peace and quiet. If he was also a summoner, how wonderful it would be. Looking at the huge Ice-Swan spirit bird, young Master Xiao's heart was full of indescribable envy and hate. The battle-wild prince had wanted to invite her to live in his own home outside of the palace, but hearing the alienating tone of her reply, he did not bother to mention it. "In this case, then how can we contact Shi Tian Daren?" Shenyang asked. He definitely did not want to lose contact with Shi Tian Daren. When he returned to the palace to report to His Majesty, His Majesty would personally hold a banquet to welcome Shi Tian and invite many of the high-ranked officials. As long as Shi Tian wanted anything, His Majesty would definitely try to meet whatever it is. Huang Beiyu thought, then said, I will often go to the mercenary trade unions. If you need something, then send someone to leave a message. When I see it I will naturally come find you. This time the fact that this master wasn't arrogant or had a temper, and was also willing to leave a way to be contacted, can be considered very good. Shun Yang immediately nodded, thanking Shi Tiandaran. Huang Beiyu saw that it was getting late. She had to hurry and buy medicine for the wounded Dongling, but now that the mercenary task was not completed, where would she find money? So depressing, this money thing. When necessary, a penny really stumped heroes are. When she left these people, she would take the Ice-Swan spirit bird with her to find some ingredients for medicine. Huang Beiyu waved farewell to the battle-wild prince and the others, and turned towards the Ice-Swan spirit bird. Shi Tiandaran. Battle-wild prince coldly said, and then from a ring brought out a palm-sized green bottle and threw it over, then coolly said, your hand is hurt, bandage it. Then he left, urging the purple-fire Chiline forward, and in the blink of an eye disappeared from the crowd's view, leaving behind a burst of hot hair from the fire Chiline. Huang Beiyu took the green bottle, hesitating slightly. Emerald jade liquid, exclaimed Xiao Zhongqi. As the Xiao family's young master, he had seen a lot of healing panacea, but this emerald jade liquid is a very precious drug, even money cannot buy it. He had only had a glimpse of it, but really His Royal Highness the Prince has been so generous from the start. 6-product elixir. On the mainland it is very rare to see. Chapter 18. Fiery red hair. 6. Shenyang also revealed an envious expression. He had reached the 6-star summoner division, only then had His Majesty gifted him with a small bottle of emerald jade liquid. And yet His Royal Highness the Prince had gifted Shi Tiandaran such a large bottle. Sure enough, it was clear that His Royal Highness would like to win over Shi Tiandaran. Shun Yang was also relieved to think that he had worried that because of His Majesty the Prince has a proud heart, he was afraid that he would neglect Shi Tiandaran. Now he did not have to worry about that. His Royal Highness the Prince would definitely become a big player in the future. Huang Beiyu did not know how precious the emerald jade liquid was, but she had seen many rare treasure in her past life. However, she did not expect that the cold-looking prince would actually notice that her hand was hurt. That young man, unlike his appearance of not helping people, he had helped her at least twice. With this elixir, she did not need to worry about not having money to buy Dongling medicine to heal. Please Mr. Shen, please give the Battlewild Prince my thanks. Before leaving, Huang Beiyu courteously said to Shenyang. The 6-star summoner was immediately flattered, he standing on ceremony and being polite. So young and strong and as modest. Such a summoner on this continent has been very rare. Riding the Ice-Swan spirit bird to leave, then leaving him in a secret place, Huang Beiyu slowly headed towards the princess's household. She cannot cultivate, so there is no space that could become the habitat for the soul of the Ice-Swan spirit bird. So she can only temporarily wrong it by forcing it to find another place to rest. Thinking of the battlefield just now, she took out the emerald jade liquid that came out of that interspatial ring. Huang Beiyu was extremely envious. She also wanted to have an interspatial ring. The interspatial ring was equivalent to having another space. You can arbitrarily store items, and in that space, time ceases. Even if food was to stored there, it will not rot. Unfortunately, on the Carter continent, the price of the ring is too expensive. To her current self, she couldn't even play around. Money, sure enough, is still the most important thing. She needed to think of a way to first get her hands on some money. In modern times she had a large number of assets and generous spending habits. Suddenly being sent to ancient times and being stretched thin, she wasn't used to it. She quietly entered the princess house, broke contact with the beasts without boundaries, and changed back into the sick, haggard third young miss. She had gone out in the morning and it was noon now. Dong Ling had been whipped, so she laid unconscious on the bed. Huang Beiyu tenderly rubbed the medicine on the maid's wounds. The emerald jade liquid was very magical. As soon as the ice green liquid was applied to the wound, and with the speed of light, healed right before her very eyes. She had not seen this type of magical thing in the 21st century. Truly, this continent was full of incredible things everywhere. After dealing with her own injury, Huang Beiyu studied the jade piece of the beast without boundaries. Since she got this baby, she had not carefully studied it, and did not know whether it had some great power. But this time, a knock sounded on the door. Huang Beiyu frowned. The flowing cloud pavilion generally had few people. This time who could it be? Third miss, it's Pei Xiong. Outside the door came a careful voice. Pei Xiong. Recalling a bit, she remembered the maidservant's tryst that she interrupted last night. Huang Beiyu went and opened the door. Outside the door was a very beautiful maidservant standing there, a cautious look and smile on her face. Third miss, I know Dongling was injured and did not go to the kitchen for lunch, so I brought it to you. Pei Xiong raised the basket in her hand. Chapter 19, Fiery Red Hair, 7. Huang Beiyu looked at the basket, then opened the door fully. Come in. Pei Xiong was overjoyed, quickly carrying the basket into the room. This is food the cook made for concubine Qin to eat. I deliberately saved some, third miss. Please try and see if you like it. Pei Xiong set the food out on the table. 3 dishes and 1 soup. This treatment compared to before is that of a 5-star standard, considering that cold bread then could be considered their best meal. Huang Beiyu held her chopsticks, her hand on her chin. You stealing food, aren't you afraid of concubine Qin finding out? Third miss is joking, you are the master of this house. Pei Xiong quickly kneeled down, kowtowing 3 times, her white forehead red. This slave did not see right from wrong in this situation, and offended the young miss. Please forgive this slave. Huang Beiyu placed the chopstick in her mouth, leisurely eating, her first taste of the ancient dishes. The taste was really good. She is not afraid of Pei Xiong poisoning her. After all, she wouldn't dare even if she had 10 men's courage. Pei Xiong, I will care for you, since yesterday I did not kill you. Yes, thanking miss for not killing me, Pei Xiong said and continued to kowtow. Get up, Huang Beiyu said, raising her hand. There are a few things I want to ask you. Third miss, whatever the question, this slave will answer without reservation. Pei Xiong declared loyally. After last night's episode, she thoroughly understood that this third miss was not the former cowardly and incompetent third miss, and later the princess household will certainly have some great changey. Concubine Qin and her kind, in the end, were just the concubines of the master, even if in the future she became the legal wife. Third miss was still the rightful princess, and would be the one calling the shots. At the time the first princess was alive, even the master did not have the right to speak. Although now first Princess Hui Wen had died, she had still left behind a distinguished identity, her noble royal blood, her title as princess, as well as the deed for the rich southern Qinghe fief that was in the north of the main city. Although first princess was no longer here, there was still the empress who kept the third miss in mind, allowing her to come visit the palace often. During holidays, the emperor also bestowed a lot of rewards to the first princess's household. This wasn't in an effort to give the Xiao family face, but for the first princess. Before, if it wasn't for the young third miss being so weak and incompetent, would concubine Qin dare to be so arrogant? She was beaten and scolded every day. She was held back from succeeding and only allowed to be a small maidservant. Since the lady was no longer cowardly, it was natural that she would regain everything that should belong to her. Humph. It was better to follow the third miss early on, so that when the third miss took charge of the princess's household, by that time, where else would she go? She was only a useless maidservant. Those who are looking for a bright and beautiful future, Huang Beiyu was used to seeing those type of people, so how could she not understand the girl's thoughts? But she did not comment for the moment, and just asked, in recent years, mine and the first princess's property, who is currently managing it? Sure enough, the third miss has begun to retrieve her things. Pei Xiong cheekily smiled, before quickly saying everything she knew about the situation. First Princess Hui Wen was popular among the people. Her fief Miang was composed of simple folk. Since everyone loved the first princess, the people were industrious in the farming, so the annual tax revenue was always a large number. And Huang Beiyu was the only Nanyi country princess that had her own fief. It was the fertile southern Qinghe fief, which since ancient times held a vast land area. When she was born, the emperor personally decreed, the Qinghe fief that was north of the main city belonged to her. At that time, all the people in the country said that she was the wealthiest child in Nanyi country, even the crown prince could not compare. After the death of the first princess, the Miang and Qinghe fiefs, the taxes collected from both are owned by Huang Beiyu. By all accounts she should be very rich, but now all she had were only a few copper and iron coins. When she was younger, balancing the books and taxes, she would naturally not understand these things, so it handed over to consort Prince Xiao, her father, for remote management. But consort Prince Xiao is a warrior, what interest does he have in accounting? At that time the beautiful concubines seduced the master and after some pillow talk, got the master to give the account books to concubine Shui for management, who then handed the Qinghe fief account books to concubine Qin. The two women, after receiving the management of such huge taxes, became the most beautiful concubines of Nanyi country. They gathered many attendants, were regarded as honored guests to many businesses as they spent lavishly, making the first wives of many families endlessly jealous. H. Holding my money yet being so arrogant. Huang Beiyu grit her teeth, she could not afford to buy medicine, while concubine Qin spent a few thousand coins on jewelry. In fact, the second Miss Talent is not so good, so concubine Qin has been spending a lot of money to buy elixir, to help the second Miss build her cultivation base. As elixirs are expensive, it accounts for a large part of the income, so concubine Shui is usually not too generous towards concubine Qin. Pei Xiong kept talking endlessly, who let concubine Qin not give birth to a son who was eligible to become a summoner. Even if the young master was skilled in martial arts and became powerful, it was still less powerful than summoner are. Becoming a 3-star summoner by 15 years of age is already good enough for the future. To become a master in Nanyi country, this was the path to follow. Being 15 or 16 years old and becoming a 3-star summoner would fare her well later. Today she encountered that Shen Yang, who also at the age of 15 broke through to become a 3-star summoner. Now he had become a 6-star summoner, and was respected wherever he went. Of course, the premise of levels means nothing to Huang Beiyu's abnormal strength. Second Miss strength is very good, so Master and Grandmaster dote on her. If Third Miss wishes to control the house, I am afraid that concubine Shui cannot be touched at first, Pei Xiong sincerely said. I just asked about the tax situation only, I did not say I wanted to control the house. Huang Beiyu smiled as she put down her chopsticks. Pei Xiong's heart burst of disappointment. Third Miss, but, if I don't control them now, it doesn't mean I won't in the future. Since you chose to follow me, then I will not let you suffer later. Yes, this slave must be loyal to the Third Miss. Huang Beiyu nodded, then suddenly remembered something, and asked, I'm 15 this month, are the Empress Dowager and Princess She not coming back? Pei Xiong laughed. Yes, as long as the Empress Dowager and Princess She are back, they will call Third Miss into the palace. The Empress and Princess She were the biggest backers of the Third Miss. At that time, even the Xiao family head dare not call her useless. In fact, her asking for news about the Empress Dowager and Princess She's return wasn't because she needed a patron to help her regain control of the family, she just wanted to repay the dead Huang Beiyu. Moreover, she felt the death of Princess Hui Wen was also very strange. The first princess's body had been very good, her temperament was gentle, and she was elegant and healthy, but suddenly she got a serious illness and died. Accounting for the body of Huang Beiyu that was now hers, it was necessary for her to help the princess find out some things. Chapter 21, Fiery Red Hair, 9, Sending Pei Xiong away, Huang Beiyu went into the secret room, discovered Dong Ling struggling to sit up, she quickly went to stop her. Don't move. Miss, I heard Pei Xiong's voice. Did she come to bully you again? Even in her sleep Dong Ling was nervous, vaguely hearing Pei Xiong's voice. She woke immediately and went instinctively to protect her mistress. Relax, no one will bully me anymore. Are you hungry? Pei Xiong brought food. Comforting her loyal maid, Huang Beiyu also felt her pulse. Her injury has healed already. The reason why she was weak was because she has been starving. There's food. Dong Ling opened her eyes wide, as if hearing something unbelievable, shouted after pausing in shock. Pei Xiong brought this food. Did you eat it? Miss, how could you eat it? Dong Ling was so anxious that she almost cried, that Pei Xiong has never given them any slack. If she wasn't bullying Mistress, she'd be teasing her. One time she pretended to be generous and gave Mistress a piece of meat that caused Mistress to vomit non-stop after eating it. This time she brought food unexpectedly. What kind of trick is she playing? Huang Beiyu smiled faintly. She could feel that the care this young girl had for her was genuine, not false at all. It touched her deeply. She knew she wasn't the best person, and not a lot of people were nice to her, but to everyone who treated her well, she would doubly appreciate and repay. Dongling, listen to me. No one will bully us anymore. I have already grown and know how to protect myself. Miss, Dongling's eyes became teary. She kneeled suddenly, and lay sobbing on Beiyu's lap. Was she dreaming? She has dreamt of Mistress saying this to her so many times, but every time she wakes up, Mistress remains unchanged. Huang Beiyu shook her head helplessly, patted her shoulder and said, "All right, what's with the crying? Let's see if your injury is better." Dongling started, only to realize that she actually felt no pain. Weren't the injuries obviously severe? Aunt Chin's whip has never withheld force. How was it that there weren't any scars? She pulled at her sleeves and clothes to search her body, discovered that not only her wounds were healed, but her skin had also become smooth and soft, like a baby's. Dongling flushed in excitement. "Miss, what happened?" "I am a summoner now," Huang Beiyu said lazily, leaning on a pillow. Dongling's eyes widened, and grew even bigger. A summoner? This was a dream. This had to be a dream. Mistress could barely gather energy before. How was it possible that she became a summoner? Huang Beiyu knew that she had doubts. If she told Dongling that she didn't need to gather energy and yet could make beasts surrender to her, this naive young girl would surely not believe her. Perhaps because of my young age in the past, I wasn't able to master the secrets. But I started to get a feel of the summoning tactics last night and finally learning them successfully. Dongling looked at her, suddenly jumping up. This is great. Once you become a summoner, who cares even if there is only one star, no one will bully you. A summoner, what a sacred job. In the Carter continent Tar, countless people dream of becoming a summoner, but strict lineage and talent limited the profession. As long as one has the talent of a summoner, they'll get respect from people everywhere. Mistress is only 12 years old and she has already become a summoner. She simply has to work hard and practice, and she will surely succeed, and change the minds of people who had previously looked down upon them. 1 star. Huang Beiyu raised her eyebrows slightly and summoned Magical Icebird. Her power had to equal the prince in a fight. With 1 star, it's too weak. But looking at how happy Dongling is, she didn't want to explain anymore. Dongling, my powers are weak right now. To avoid unnecessary trouble, let's not broadcast it first. We can talk about it more when the Empress Dowager and Princess Shi come back, okay? I know, miss. Dongling quickly answered. This version of Mistress is different from how she was before. She takes things into account, and is so assertive, completely different from the Mistress before, who was weak, naive, and would panic and cry when she encountered difficulties. Mistress has really grown up. If Princess Chang was still here, and could see Mistress like this, she'd be thrilled. Tian Beiyu's mom's full name is Princess Hui Wen Chang. I always left of the Chang by accident. Whoops. For the next half day, Huang Beiyu didn't step foot out of the house, staying at home to study Beasts Without Boundaries. She tried to use her energy to slowly check on the situation in the Black Jade, but every time it is as if she has run into a tall wall. No matter her attempts to concentrate, there was no way to break through. She could vaguely feel a powerful force surging in the Black Jade, like the rush of thousands of stampeding beasts, and was cautiously terrified, wondering the depth of devastation and destruction that would be caused by the force if she were to release it. She was faintly expectant, despite her inability to check on the situation in the Black Jade, that she would still able to establish a connection with the Black Jade, like how she was able to harness the Black Jade's power to defeat the magical Icebird today. It has even caused her hair color and appearance to change. If she was able to gather enough energy, perhaps she could understand Beasts Without Boundaries more deeply. Without realizing, the sky had darkened and Dongling hurriedly pushed open the door, came in and said, "Miss, Master has called everyone to the front hall." "What happened?" Huang Beiyu asked, stood up after putting away the Black Jade. Dongling shook her head. The house's maidservants have always been snobby to her, refusing to be associated with her, fearful of bad luck. That's why she wasn't able to hear any news. Let's go see. She also wanted to see those people who forced Huang Beiyu to die. She walked out with Dong Ling without changing her clothes, simply wearing a plain cloak. Walking through the empty flowing clouds pavilion for a long time, voices could gradually be heard. Princess Chang's house was full of servants, not to mention wealthy. It had the glory of Princess Chang's name, as well as the influence of the Xiao family, so it was incredibly lively. The pavilions and architecture around the house were exquisitely and beautifully designed, along with the delicately carved cornices scattered between the false trees, created a classical, poetic and hazy atmosphere. Through the long hallways and many rooms in the house, turning a corner in another few steps, suddenly voices speaking could be heard. Her hair was as red as fire. It was hard to look at her. The beast she summoned was one of the 5 ice beasts. They were magical ice bird. What? Ice beasts appeared? Who exactly was that nobleman? That he was actually in league with the magical ice bird. That was a terrific nobleman. And she decided to stay in our Nani nation. I'll tell you that our master and that nobleman are friend. A summoner with magical ice bird is friends with master. Is this true? Today the road has been changed with 9,000 words, and rolling up the next prize loot. Tilda. Well, of course. Today master is even inviting her to stay at his home, but that nobleman enjoys the quiet. He's a big deal, you know, so he doesn't like to be disturbed. Master is actually quite terrific. To have master as our superior has allowed us to enjoy the glory as well. Friends with Xiao Zhongqi? Huang Beiyu sneered coldly to herself. Count yourself lucky that I didn't kill you today, but to befriend each other, what kind of feverish dream were you having? She was exhausted after defeating the magical icebirds today. How was she to remember that she still had to handle a person like Xiao Zhongqi? Next time, he won't be this lucky. The crowd surrounding an arrogant Xiao Zhongqi was full of brown noses, feeding into Master Xiao's ego delightfully, as if they were the ones who became a 9-star summoner. Suddenly someone looked up and saw Huang Beiyu. Their face turned mocking at once, raised their voice to say, "Look quickly, that piece of garbage actually showed up." After what that person said, all the people around Xiao Zhongqi turned their heads and started to laugh. Why can't she show up? Today is actually her big day. Third sister, how has your health been? If you haven't been well, let's not go to the front hall, lest that you get overwhelmed by anger, said Xiao Zhongqi, shamelessly laughing. The crowd surrounding him naturally laughed along. No wonder she's the shame of the Xiao family, letting down and causing old master to lose face. Better to die than to continue living like this. Shut up. Dong Ling had an impulsive personality, easily angered after hearing the rude words spoken by these people. Oh, how dare you shout out at master, you must be sick of living. A house servant viciously slapped Dong Ling. Huang Beiyu's eyes were steely cold. As she was about to make a move, Xiao Zhongqi suddenly said stop. That house servant immediately lowered his hand out of respect, grinning at Xiao Zhongqi with cowardice. Master, what are your orders? We should teach this idiot girl. We have a lot up our sleeves. Don't beat that girl now, lest you piss off and kill third sister. We still need someone to collect her body, right? Xiao Zhongqi glanced scornfully at Huang Beiyu, then gleefully laughed, and led his lackeys away. Miss. Dong Ling looked at her worriedly. What master just said? Would I be that easily angered? Huang Beiyu said. In the front hall. Walking into the yard, there were numerous armored guards standing outside the hall. A low snickering laugh floated from the front hall. Butler Ju, who was guarding the door outside, saw Huang Beiyu, rushed down at once, angrily scolded, "Why are you taking your time? And rudely making your guests wait for you. What a disappointment to the Xiao family." While scolding and ushering Huang Beiyu towards the front hall, he completely missed the change from the usual cowardice to the coolness in her stare. Many people were already seated in the front hall. In the seat of honor sat Xiao Yuan Cheng, a middle-aged man with a rounded belly. On the left, sat concubine Qin, concubine Shui, second mistress Xiao Yun, oldest mistress Xiao Ling respectively, as well as several young ladies and gentlemen. On the right, sat several strangers, one of which was a finely dressed young man, handsome, proud, and on his collar were 4 dazzling flame patterns. looking barely 20 years old, and was already a 4-star summoner. Below him sat a few capable-looking men. Chapter 24, Shameful Humiliation, 2. Please read on the OG site, Amateur Translations. Com, and if possible turn off your ad block and click on an ad smiley face. That well-dressed young man kept looking towards the beautiful Xiao Yun, but Xiao Yun ignored him, immersed deep in thought while playing with her fingertips. The finely garbed young man couldn't help but feel disappointed. He swept his gaze all around and focused onto Huang Beiyu, who had just walked in the door, dressed in clothes as pale as snow, looking cool and elegant. A palm-sized face, albeit its paleness, could not conceal the beauty and elegance in her exquisite facial features. Startled, the young man wondered in surprise. This wouldn't happen to be Princess Beiyu? After not seeing her for a few years, she has grown to become so beautiful. All of the sitting daughters of the Xiao family are all beauties of the ages, of which 15-year-old Xiao Yun was the most beautiful, dressed in a brocade dress designed with light rose-red magnolia flowers and branches, hair pulled in a complicated Chaoyun bun, adorned in gold-beaded hairpins, jade earrings, and she even wore a luck-bringing jade Pisces necklace. Although lightly made up, the luxurious accessories that accompanied her clearly showed off her beauty, drawing the sights of everyone around. With the added reputation of a summoner, it gave her an even more refined aura. She is simply the goddess in every man's mind. Huang Beiyu and Xiao Yun, one is simple and refined, while the other is dignified and gorgeous, both undeniable beauties. Too bad for the fact that Huang Beiyu was garbage. It didn't matter how attractive she was. Women should be tasteful like Xiao Yun. The young man made up his mind, met the gaze of Huang Beiyu with scorn. Huang Beiyu did not look at him. She walked into the front hall, found a seat next to first sister Xiaoling, and sat down wordlessly, behaving as if no one in the house existed. Xiao Yuan Cheng's face turned gloomy instantly, and a look of disgust flashed across his face. Pity that there were guests present. It would be improper to instigate, so in regret he faced the fat middle-aged man and said, "We tease Angua Gong, not a name but a title for an official in charge of nation security. This is our young daughter Bei Yu." Angua Gong struggled to open his eyes, that was sunken into his meaty face, to look at Huang Peiyu, guffawed. "So this is Princess Peiyu. She does look like the angelic beauty that Princess Hui Wenchang was back in the day." Angua Gong was one of the most powerful figures in the Nanyi nation, with ancestors who collected good fortune, as well as descendants who also worked hard, allowing their family to retain their princely title until now. This Angua Gong may be a fat man, but he actually has a cunning mind. Ever since inheriting the Angua Gong title, he has been marrying off royal daughters to attract house guests. Now there are masters knocking on the door, even a 9-star mid-level summoner. The strength was almost comparable to the royal prince, though it is unfortunate that he doesn't have the power to call beasts. The current son of the Angua Gong, which is also this finely dressed young man, 19 years old, has achieved the high level of 4 stars, which is already regarded as a minor success. Hearing the praise that Angua Gong gave to such an unimpressive waste of a person, Aunt Chin laughed and said in a honeyed voice, "Oh yes, she may have Princess Chang's beauty, but she lacks the princess's talent." "Pity." Angua Gong guffawed, his whole plump body shaking, echoed with a laugh, "Pity, pity. If this Princess Beiyu had any strength remotely, even if she can't compare to Xiao Yun, it is still quite well, since she not only has the reputation of Princess Chang, she also has the protection of the Empress Dowager and the king. Perhaps if Princess Chang still lived, her garbage status would have been fine, but with Princess Chang's death, then what was the use with this piece of trash?" Guogong Yi, about what was just said, Xiao Yuan Cheng glanced at Huang Beiyu, and slowly opened his mouth. Chapter 25, Shameful Humiliation, 3. Please read on the OG site, Amateur Translations. Com, and if possible turn off your ad block and click on an ad smiley face. How does the consort prince feel? Angua Gong's eyes gleamed. Xiao Yuan Cheng stroked the beard on his chin. He looked silently at the corner. Huang Beiyu appeared emotionless, and was looking at Xiao Yun, the dignified-looking beloved daughter. The contrast between two was stark, one heavenly, and one who belongs underground. Beiyu will not have any future. Even with the title of princess, there still wouldn't be any man from an average family willing to marry her. The large family was afraid of and resented her sickly body. They can only hope for a dependable average person who would be willing to marry into the house of Princess Chang. When Princess Hui Wenchang was still alive, she had the support of the Empress Dowager and the devotion of the king, which were lost when Beiyu was born. At the same time, the old Angwa Gong had a brief friendship with Princess Hui Wencheng, so they set up a marriage betrothal between Huang Beiyu and the son of Angwa Gong Xueche. In the past, Angwa Gong had thought that this would be a good marriage, that it would definitely bring great glory to the house of Angwa Gong, but who would have thought that the young Princess Hui Wenchang would suddenly pass away and leave behind this useless trash? A sick child, a piece of garbage, and the joke of the Nani nation. How can she possibly match up to the son of Angwa Gong, who was already a 4-star summoner and had a promising future? Because of this, Angwa Gong reconsidered, and decided to bring Xueche to the house in order to cancel the marriage. To save face for the Xiao family, Angwa Gong and Xiao Yuancheng discussed privately that perhaps they could select a different Xiao daughter to marry into the Angwa Gong family. That 15-year-old, 3-star summoner Xiao Yun was quite nice. Master Angwa determined, this girl will certainly be a bright star in the future and would definitely bring endless benefit to the Angwa Gong house. Father. The well-dressed young man Xueche suddenly stood up, grinned at Xiao Yun with what he thought was a gentlemanly smile, and looked towards Angwa Gong. I, your child, am already 19 years old. I wish to make my own decisions for my own marriage. Father and Uncle Xiao, I hope you understand. Once Xueche's words were spoken, there was no doubt that he expressed the uncomfortable inner thoughts of everyone present. It turned out that the purpose of the visit was to resolve the marriage contract with the sickly third sister. At once, the faces of the numerous mistresses and ladies sitting in the front hall shone with wonder and excitement. Even Xiao Yun joined in the ridiculing laughter. She looked towards Huang Beiyu, and momentarily expressed snobbish pity. Standing behind Huang Beiyu, Dong Ling grew angry and flushed red, tears began to swirl in her eyes, and she clenched her fists tightly at her sides. Huang Beiyu looked at her slightly with calm black eyes, sparkling with elegant coolness like gems. Seeing that look, Dong Ling calmed down after a moment. Humph! What kind of idiot was the son of Angwa Gong? He must be blind. The current mistress is not trash, and you dare to turn down the marriage with such fanfare now, you better not regret it in the future. Son, based on your current power and status, Beiyu is really not good enough for you. Xiao Yuancheng didn't even pay attention to the feelings of the weak and incompetent third daughter. He was now only concerned with not losing Angwa Gong's family as in-laws. It would be great if their two families could be joined in marriage. Marrying off a useless Huang Beiyu has no purpose at all. Why not let them marry Yuna? With her intellect and capabilities, it would only enhance the Xiao family. Chapter 26 Shameful Humiliation 4. Please read on the OG site, Amateur Translations. And if possible turn off your ad block and click on an ad smiley face. Xiao uncle must be joking. With Princess Beiyu's distinguished status, I am not worthy of her. Xueche stood up and saluted. Although his mouth was full of humble words, his tone indicated that he was full of ridicule. Angwa Gong with his fat trembling said, Princess Beiyu is only 12 years old this year, while Cheya has reached the marriageable age. This marriage is indeed wrong. But the old Angwa Gong and Princess Hui Wencheng had set up the marriage. I did not dare abolish it. If the Xiao family had a daughter of marriageable age, Angwa Gong will take her back to marry into the family. Concubine Qin quickly rushed to say, my daughter is Xiao Ling 17 this year, along with your eldest son. The age is the right match. Originally when she heard Angwa say so, Xueche's eyes have been boldly staring at the beautiful Xiao Yun. His eyes expressed his feelings, boldly expressing his feelings, but when he heard the words of Concubine Qin he was seized with terror. Be with the Xiao's eldest daughter Xiao Ling? All of the eyes of the people in the hall turned to look at Huang Beiyu and Xiao Ling. Today Xiao Ling had deliberately dressed up. Her eyebrows were like crescent moons, her eyes were cool, her dress was a fine smoke blue satin, flowing with excess fabric yet defining her waist, causing her to look elegant when moving. She had not said anything from beginning to end. Only after hearing the words of Concubine Qin did she look up, looking timidly at Xiao Yun and Concubine Xue, before quickly bowing her head. She was just the pampered daughter of a concubine. How could she dare to grab Xiao Yun's limelight? Concubine Qin was clearly afraid that Xiao Yun would marry Angua Gong's eldest son, and with that famous family's backing, Concubine Shui would then use the opportunity to take control of the family, and just push her right out. If this really happened, how would Concubine Shui and Xiao Yun let her go? But she really did not dare offend Concubine Shui, so what could she do at this time? While she was hesitating, Huang Beiyu's tender voice sounded, "Prince Che, you want to cancel your engagement with me because my incompetence will make you lose face in the future. If you want to marry a wife that will give you face, my sister is a good choice." At her words, Angua Gong and Xiao Yuan Cheng both hesitated simultaneously. They were both thinking it, but the waist actually said it aloud. "Huang Beiyu, what are you talking about?" Xiao Yun turned to look at her, her chest pounding with anger. This was just saying that she was a vegetable in the same market, that someone could just pick and choose. Shui Che was indeed one of Nanyi country's young talents, but she was also known as the genius Xiao Yun. Only she was allowed to pick and chose some. How could she allow someone to do the same to her? "Second sister, did I say something wrong? You are beautiful, Prince Che is thoroughly handsome. You two are just a perfect match. You guys are beyond me." Huang Beiyu raised her fine little face, her clear eyes glowing smartly. Her words sounded so natural that people could not even be angry. In the end, Xiao Yun was still young. Hearing her straightforward words, she suddenly became shy and blushed in shame. Only a fool who didn't understand the situation would say such word. Shui Che was very happy. Huang Beiyu had said the words in his heart, he was just too embarrassed to say it. He happily cast Huang Beiyu a grateful look. Although this girl was a waste, she was occasionally useful. Shui Che grabbed Xiao Yun's trembling hand. "Sheer uncle, Yuna Maimai is talented and intelligent. I have admired her for a long time. Please Xiao uncle fulfill my request." Huang Beiyu's eyebrows rose. She did not think that Shui Che was this bold. Shui Che, your former fiancé is still sitting here. The marriage has not yet been officially released, yet you dare court another woman in front of my face. Chapter 27, Shameful Humiliation, 5. It has come to my attention that I received $100 donation for Phoenix Against the World. A big thank you to Tina LH. There will be double releases daily until the 10 sponsored chapters are released. Smileyface. Please read on the OG site. Amateur translations. Common. If possible, turn off your ad block and click on an ad. Smileyface. Xiao Yuan Cheng was happy in his mind. Looking at Concubine Shui, he said, "If Yuna likes him, then of course it is good." Xiao Yun was secretly delighted. She shy looked away, and gently pulled Concubine Shui's sleeves, and said, "Let's listen to father's command. It is better this way. Yuna and Prince Che are bother going to study at the Central Spirit College. You can bother learn and exchange ideas with each other. Once they get familiar, then we can have the marriage." Xiao Yuan Cheng turned to look at Angua Gong. "What do you think?" "Good. Of course it is good. Chea can marry Xiao Yun. It would be his good fortune." Angua Gong laughed, his fat stomach quivering up and down. "Thank you, Uncle Xiao. Thank you, father." Shui Che was overjoyed. Quickly facing the two elders he bowed, and then turned to Concubine Shui and bowed. Then he looked at Xiao Yun. "Thank you, Yuna Maimai." Xiao Yun angrily looked at him, though in her heart she was very joyful. They successfully cancelled a marriage and formed another one. The Xiao family had some ups and downs, but all of them, including Concubine Qin, were all happy. Angua Gong beckoned. A guard standing outside came in holding a gorgeous box and placed it on the table. The inside of the box contained a jade lock and a certificate of divorce. When Huang Beiyu saw the black and white words, her expression turned completely cold. She did not care that Shui Che had decided to cancel the engagement. However, this does not mean that she would be the one abandoned. This is the jade lock that the old Angua Gong and the late princess used to hold the engagement certificate. The old Angua Gong also gave Princess Beiyu the jade heirloom. Now that we have cancelled the marriage, the jade lock should be returned, and Princess Beiyu should also return the jade heirloom. Angua Gong looked at the weak Huang Beiyu, who was put on a pedestal by the old Angua Gong, and looked at her condescendingly. A 12-year-old waste, so what if she was a princess? Now who would shield her? Huang Beiyu went over, dressed in white, her body thin, her face pale and haggard, looking delicate and harmless. The eyes of the servants turned from a sarcastic sneer into one of pity. She picked the certificate up, and holding it between her index finger and thumb, held it in front of Angwa Gong. A certificate of divorce? Is Princess Beiyu illiterate? If you can't read, I can have Chea read it to you line by line. Huang Beiyu shook her head, her lips slowly opened, revealing a devilish smile. What qualifications does Xue Che have to leave this princess? Angwa Gong, you seem to have forgotten, I am the daughter of Princess Beiyu from the royal family. The emperor has bestowed me with a second-class rank, while your son Xue Che is nothing but fifth-ranked goods of the military. That he met me and did not kneel is already a felony, but he also dared to break his engagement to me. Tien, so the ranks are basically like the feudal system. She's a direct descendant from the royal family, so she's like a duke, I think. While Angwa Gong's son has their strength from the military and his fifth rank would be about a commander, not quite a general in the army. After she finished speaking, the entire hall was quiet. Then the people soon started laughing at Huang Beiyu while they stared at her. Was the third Miss too stimulated by today's events and became confused in her brain? She actually dared to challenge Angwa Gong. Her identity as a princess was now in name only, but she is still trying to use it to pressure people. If Angwa Gong became angry, she could not afford to bear it. Beiyu, what nonsense are you saying? You cannot be rude, get out of here. Xiao Yuan Cheng stood up and pounded the table, full of anger and about to explode. He had never had any affection for his daughter. When he had married her mother Princess Hui Wenchang, he suffered a lot humiliation. He hated both the mother and daughter. How is it nonsense? Isn't what I said the truth? The girl's voice was loud, blocking the speech of everyone else, making them speechless. Chapter 28, Shameful Humiliation, 6. Please read on the OG site, Amateur Translations. Com, and if possible turn off your ad block and click on an ad smiley face. You dared to keep disgracing me. Xiao Yuan Cheng jumped up. If not because the empress and princess she were behind her, he would have beaten up and killed this uppity girl. Huang Beiyu only looked on coldly. He was not her biological father, so why would she give him face? The person disgracing you is not me but you yourself. It was you who married Princess Hui Wen. Now you hope that Angwa Gong would regret the marriage proposal to me. Matching Xue Che and Xiao Yun was also your idea, so how is it not my business? Everyone just stared. The third miss had gone crazy. She had gone completely crazy. Huang Beiyu just looked on with her cold and indifferent dark eyes. Xiao Yuan Cheng could feel the black eyes on him, his fingers shaking. He pointed at her. Just watch and see if I do not kill you today. Kill her? Was he dreaming? She stood there without moving, coldly watching Xiao Yuan Cheng, waiting for him to come and kill her. Xiao Yuan Cheng of course did not dare come. If he had the courage to kill Huang Beiyu, he would have killed her as early as 800 years ago. Sorry, Dad, she wasn't even born yet. Although looking at this girl made him upset, her identity was too untouchable. He secretly conspired that not letting her have a good day in her life is the biggest revenge he could do. If Huang Beiyu really died, then how could the empress and the emperor allow the Xiao family to exist? Although the Xiao family had big influence, they also had to rely on the royal family. Master, don't be angry. Do not let this cheap girl hurt your body with anger. Concubine Xue quickly came over and began patting Xiao Yuan Cheng on his back, then whispered, Aren't Angwa Gong and his people still here? This girl is crazy. When the others leave you can go and slowly put her in her place. Also now, the most important thing was the marriage to Angwa Gan's house. Xiao Yuan Cheng took a few deep breaths. Calming down, he stared fiercely at Huang Beiyu. He then turned to appease Angwa Gong. Angwa Gong, this girl does not have a good upbringing. Please don't take offense. Angwa Gong and Xue Che faces were livid with anger at Huang Beiyu's words. Since this girl wanted to be defiant, he would definitely let her pay the price. But of course, he cannot come outrightly deal with her for the same reason as Xiao Yuan Cheng. The people behind this girl were the empress and the emperor. If it couldn't be done outrightly, it would be performed secretly. Regardless, it is just a child speaking, so don't worry. Angwa Gong replied as his fat face presented a false smile. Princess Beiyu's honor is untouchable, but today we are here to dissolve the marriage agreement. Does the princess not agree? Does the princess need to rely on our Angwa Gong family? Rely on? Huang Beiyu sarcastically laughed. Angwa Gong is really funny. You think that everyone is like you, believing that your son is a treasure. In my eyes he is nothing. Then why do you refuse to hand over the jade heirloom? Angwa Gong could not stand to be calm. He had lost face in front of so many people, and the person who humiliated him was a 12-year-old girl. No matter how good he tried to seem, the conversation was over. Huang Bei simply laughed out loud. What jade? I don't even know which pawn shop I sent it to. According to custom, the party that lost the token of engagement is the one who took the initiative to end the marriage arrangement. So it is I who divorced Xue Che. There was a slapping sound as the certificate was slammed against the table. The strength of the sound and her voice shocked the whole room, causing the hearts of everyone to jump at the same time. Okay, it is as Princess Bei said. After saying this, Angwa Gong wheezed and panted as he sneered at her and got up to his feet. I did not think that the Xiao family contained such an arrogant daughter. My eyes have really opened. Chapter 29, Shameful Humiliation, 7. Bei gives no face to anyone. Face with tears of joy. Please read on the OG site, Amateur Translations. Com, and if possible turn off your ad block and click on an ad. Smiley face. You flatter me, Huang Bei said leisurely, as she smiled faintly. Arrogant. Had he seen her act arrogantly yet? She, Huang Bei, was arrogant, because she had the right to. Consort Prince, since things have been set, I will be leaving. Angwa Gong said to Xiao Yuan Cheng, due to my daughter's ignorance, we've offended. Xiao Yuan Cheng quickly sent Angwa Gong out. Xue Che looked back at Huang Bei before leaving, and in a low voice said, Princess Bei, today's shame, I will remember it. Huang Bei sarcastically snorted, very well, I will make sure that you can never forget it in this life. After Angwa Gong left, Huang Bei did not bother with anyone, and went with Dong Ling to the Flowing Cloud Pavilion. In the main hall, Xiao Yun looked angry, and bitterly said, what kind of madness possessed that girl today? She seemed like a totally changed person. She was about to leave when she heard concubine Qin laugh snidely. Yunya too, you stole someone's fiancé, how could she not go crazy? What does it have to do with me? What kind of guy would want to marry a useless, sick waste? A person would be really unlucky to be engaged to her. Xiao Yun was concubine Xue's daughter, so concubine Qin did not bother to listen to her angry voice. Concubine Qin sarcastically snorted, you're pretending to be mistreated, while reaping the benefit. Concubine Xue patted Xiao Yun's hand, and while smiling she said, Yuna, soon you and the son of Angwa Gong will be engaged. In the future you will be the official wife of the Angwa Gong family. She deliberately stressed the words official wife, which caused concubine Xue to become angry, and stomp before leaving. Xiao Yun proudly said, she can only become a concubine for her entire life. Concubine Xue said, Yuna, you should not always bully that sickly child. But she is a waste, and you saw it today, mother, she was deliberately trying to embarrass me. Xiao Yun thought of Huang Bei's actions today, and became furious. Concubine Xue frowned, she was a bit strange today, however, it was only because the shock was too much. Don't you know? She used to dream of hurrying and marrying into the Angwa Gong family so that she would not be bullied. Now that her dreams are broken, she will certainly go crazy. Right, how could that waste even dream of it? It's too funny. Xiao Yun laughed proudly. Concubine Xue patted her hand and said, now we have to slowly coax her. Next month the Empress will return to the palace. If we can coax her to speak some words to the Empress, and then let your father make me the first wife, then you can be the DI daughter of the first wife in this family. Xiao Yun's eyes lit up, the DI miss. She had dreamed of becoming the DI Miss R. Although she was given the title of a genius, when she was at the Central Spirit College, in front of those truly noble DI daughters, she as the daughter of a concubine was always made to feel inferior. Nobody looked down on her openly, but secretly, who didn't say that she was a concubine-born child? With the identity of a concubine's daughter, when compared with others, she no choice but to be humble. If her mother could become the first wife, then she could become the DI daughter, then perhaps, she could see His Royal Highness the Prince. Xiao Yun's heart suddenly began beating rapidly, her eyes began shining brightly. I know, mother, I must coax her. Xiao Yun said firmly. Princess Bei, miss, weren't you too impulsive just now? That Angwa Gong does not seem like a good man. Back in the Flowing Cloud Pavilion, Dongling was still very worried. Angua Gong could mobilize a large number of experts. If he wanted to harm the miss, he could definitely kill the miss quietly. Rest assured, I dared to act that way because I can deal with it. A small Angua Gong, the most powerful expert he has is a 9-star intermediate ranked summoner, which does not have a high-ranked spirit beast. It was known that even if the summoners were the same level, if the summoned beasts were not the same, it would be bad for the weaker one. She now had the Icelwan spirit bird which had a great deal of strength and power. With such a little Angua Gong, how could he be in her eyes? After comforting Dongling, Huang Beiyu saw that Dongling was doing needlework by candlelight. Looking at the basket, it was full of embroidery. Dongling was only a year or two older than her. Originally she should also be an innocent child, but over the last few years, they had depended on selling Dongling's embroidery to live, so Huang Beiyu's life was a little easier. Thinking of this, her heart was slightly sorrowful. Miss, although the marriage with Xueche is cancelled, Miss, you are still young, there will be more and better opportunities. Dongling raised her head in the light and spoke earnestly. After Miss becomes a summoner, more and more young talented people will come and try to be intimate. This girl, was she worried that her feelings were hurt because of her divorce with Xueche? How could she be sad? That Xueche breaking the marriage agreement was her wish. She was afraid that the Angua Gong family would stick to her like houseflies, and she wouldn't be able to get rid of them. That marriage with Xueche was actually not a good thing, so him and Xiao Yun fit together very well. Dongling, do we really not have anything of value? Not wanting to continue discussing the marriage, Huang Beiyu decided to change the topic. Dongling hesitated, then looked up. The candle light reflected across her tender face. The maturity shown did not fit her age. There is a jade flute that the princess left behind. The princess was very fond of it, so this servant did not dare sell it. As Dongling spoke, she got up and went to a cupboard on the side. She pulled out a brick piece from the wall and removed a long box from the space. Actually hiding it in that place, Dongling was quite smart, or else it would have been taken by the other servants already. Opening the box, an all-white jade flute quietly lay in the box. Looking at it, the jade was a fine white, crystal clear color that shone like an ice crystal or snow. Huang Beiyu's eyes were instantly damp, so beautiful. In her memories, it seemed that Princess Hui when often played the flute in the courtyard while looking at the moon, her back looking lonely and desolate. Who she was playing for was unknown, but in the end whoever heard it could not help but listen. Picking up the jade flute, she had also played it in her past life, so she gently placed her lips on it and played a simple tune. Dongling looked surprised. Miss, when did you learn how to play the flute? This servant did not know. Well, before, mother would occasionally teach me, but since I did not play for many years, it's a bit unfamiliar. Dongling seemed to be in a trance. The royal first princess playing, the servant will never forget it. Huang Beiyu patted her shoulder. This girl was really very loyal. Dongling, I want to try the sound out. I will be back soon. Miss, it's so late. Dongling worried she wanted to come along. Huang Beiyu took out a cloak and draped it over her body. It's fine. Finished speaking, she jumped out the window. In a flash, her figure had disappeared. Dongling stared blankly. So amazing. How did her miss become so strong? Could it be that becoming a summoner made you so powerful? Her heart was full of envy. If she could become a summoner. A flight on the Icelwan spirit bird around the outside of a foggy forest once revealed that almost half of the forest was frozen in ice. Ice, why did you come here? Causing such chaos? Sitting cross-legged on the back of the Icelwan spirit bird, Huang Beiyu gently caressed Yu Xiao, jade flute, speaking to Icelwan spirit bird mentally. I heard the sound of a summoning. Every time those giant wings flapped, they would generate gusts of wind. Even if it was windless and peaceful all around, her clothes would still ripple, and strands of red hair would become exposed underneath her cloak, hints of brightness in the night. Summon, it was probably a summon from the beasts without boundaries, because that power was what brought her in as well. Master, the way people from Princess Chang's house treat you, why don't I make them? No need, I want to plan on my own, you can stay silent in the surroundings. Yes. Huang Beiyu slowly raised Yu Xiao, by gently whistling. Like a gust of wind, that blew from the distant time and space barred by stacks and rows of bright ice blades. Like a strand of floating gossamer, swaying all around in the silent night, untamed and dancing. Gentle and ethereal sounds of laughter like a light breeze that can blow out a candle flame. Hovering low, twisting and turning. They flew past the foggy forest, and headed towards Ling Hui City slowly. Suddenly soft Qin sounds sounded. It was like light flowery rain, flowing and flying, that harmonized with the music of the flute, lingering and misty, as though weeping and opening up their heart. All translated from Chinese idioms, like misty waves in the lake, in the low swirling spaces between the green willow and the wind, in the whimpering cries of the oriole, leaping over mountains and seas, bitterly searching. A song of Qin and flute, whipped up strong winds. Men like spring willow, music like autumn wind. Huang Beiyu started, silently ordered in her mind, to let the Iceland spirit bird to pursue the Qin sounds, its huge form hidden in the dark sky, unseen to mortals. They entered the capital silently, the faint Qin sounds were just ahead. Then, the Qin sounds suddenly changed, the tone rose high into the clouds and then stopped short. What's going on? Her flute sounds hadn't stopped. Why did the ones harmonizing with her suddenly break off? Suddenly feeling something amiss, Huang Beiyu put down the jade flute, and said to the Iceland spirit bird mentally, "Can you feel where it is?" The Iceland spirit bird flapped its large wings, flew into an increasingly desolate area of the city, and then circled above a rundown-looking house. "It should be here." Huang Beiyu lowered her head to look, and only saw darkness. The house didn't seem to have anyone there. Did the faint Qin sounds really come from here? It was already too late, there was no way to see what kind of place this was, but she remembered the location. She wasn't too familiar with the layout of the Lunhui city, so it is better to come out tomorrow to ask people about it. That burst of Qin sound had the air of an immortal revealing themselves with noble arrogance. Despite this, however, it still seemed helpless. Like a dream, like reality. Who was playing those Qin sounds? Huang Beiyu was filled with curiosity. A demeanor as cool as hers, was instead unexpectedly interested in a person that she has never met before. She will find this person, no matter who it is. She liked this kind of Qin sound, liked the emotion in the music. Returning to the floating clouds pavilion, after letting the Iceland spirit bird hide, Huang Beiyu unexpectedly found that there was a person hiding in the yard. She may have been a natural killer in a previous life, uncovering hidden whereabouts, but she is really a master among masters. In the dark, she could immediately feel that person's breath, and saw in an instant glance where he was at. Today she humiliated the Angua Gong and his son. Were they this quick to attack her already? If they dare to come at her, they better not expect to return after coming after her. A ghostly figure silently snuck past, their black cloak blending with the darkness, as if Azura had arrived. The black-cloaked figure who hid outside Huang Beiyu's room, picked up a bamboo stick, poked through the paste paper covering the window, and released smoke inside. As he did so, his eyes glinted with a wretched smile. Angua Gong is definitely going to give him a huge reward now. This blood-born daughter of the house of Princess Chang, Huang Beiyu, has the same unique beauty as the former Princess Chang had. Even though she was still young, she is still tender, so he likes it. White smoke blew in from the window paper. The black-cloaked figure giggled menacingly, rubbed his hands together, and was about to open the window to sneak in, completely unaware of the person standing silently behind him. If he looked back at this moment, and saw a strange and cold person dressed in a black cloak, he would definitely think that he saw a ghost in the middle of the night. Huang Beiyu pulled off the hood of her cloak, and revealed the unrivaled beauty of her young and innocent face. She extended her hand, and gently tapped on the shoulder of the black-cloaked figure. The black-cloaked figure startled, turned around, and suddenly saw the young girl who was supposed to be in a coma in the house appear in front of him, instantly scaring him back a step. There was nothing to fear. This was only a 12-year-old child. Even if she wasn't captured, with his skills as an ultimate warrior, he could easily take her on. Dwelling on that thought, the black-cloaked figure adjusted his collar, and announced, "Princess Beiyu, listen obediently to Uncle," referring to himself in the third person, "then perhaps Uncle would spare your measly life." With pitch-black eyes that shined with the coldness of the night, Huang Beiyu laughed coolly. "Do you know about the red-haired sorceress from Linhui City, The one with 9-star level summoning power, and owns the Ice Wand spirit bird? The black-cloaked man grew fearful, unsure about the meaning of what the young girl said, but the name of that red-haired summoner who appeared today has already spread throughout Linhuai City. It would surely spread through the entire Nanyi nation not only after. Of course I've heard. His voice faded as the young girl in front of him suddenly smiled strangely, and that head of black hair slowly became fiery red. The black-cloaked man's eyes widened, and panic instantly consumed him from his toes to the top of his head. I'm letting you see exactly who you're up against, because I fear that you will forget whose hands you died upon when you go to hell. Mercy, mercy. The black-cloaked figure could only groan weakly from his throat. The fact that he hasn't fainted yet at this moment already proved his strength. To provoke a 9-star summoner, he is definitely going to be unlucky for 8 generations. A bone-chilling coldness suddenly came from all directions. In the dark night, a huge ice phoenix bird head appeared in front, with its giant mouth open, and swallowed his person whole. In the moment before death, that black-cloaked figure screamed in his heart, "Oh God." This garbage from Princess Chang's house was actually a 9-star summoner, Huang Beiyu. She's the red-haired sorceress. The person who contracted with the ice magical bird. But these words, he will never be able to say aloud ever again. How's the taste? The ice magical bird chewed for a while, as if it were chewing wax, then the ice bird spoke from the heart. Doesn't taste good. Relax, follow me, and there will be a lot more meat to eat in the future. Mess with her. She, Huang Beiyu, was actually quite vicious and merciless. Chinese idiom, swallow people and don't spit out the bones. In the room, Dong Ling had fainted from the smoke. Huang Beiyu checked her pulse. It was only normal smoke, so it wasn't too big a deal. Moving Dong Ling onto the bed, and she also laid down herself to rest. Clutching the beast without boundaries in her hands, she knew that with it, she would gradually grow stronger, but with that piece of black jade was too big of a mystery. The fact that she could barely master its secrets made her incredibly anxious. A 9-star summoner, in the entire Carter mainland, could already be considered a master, but it is also only limited to the Carter mainland only. The next day was the birthday of the old queen wife of the Jing'an king, Xiao Yuan Cheng. Aunt Qin and Aunt Snow led the young ladies and gentlemen in their home to the feast at the house, and left behind Huang Beiyu, the legitimate daughter. In the past, doctors had said that she was seriously ill with sickness, and could infect others, so Xiao Yuan Cheng had ordered to not let her go out of the house. It was just as well, there's less trouble anyways. After eating a simple breakfast, Huang Beiyu draped on her black cloak and went out. The mercenary union at Bujia Market. After yesterday, the news of the red-haired 9-star summoner who has spread throughout the entire Linhuai city, so at the moment that she walked into the Bujia Market, numerous people held their breath and stared. That person is Shi Tiandaren. Wow. The one who contracted with the magical ice beast. That red hair is too handsome. Shi Tiandaren is too handsome. Huang Beiyu had a petite body. Because people couldn't see her face clearly, many people assumed that she was a short old man. But in the land of Carter, where strength is highly favored, even an old man, as long as he was strong enough, will earn respect. Huang Beiyu walked into the mercenary union, and people inside immediately came welcomingly. Shi Tiandaren, you've come, what can I do for you? I want to earn money. Huang Beiyu said straightforwardly. That person started, earn money? A 9-star summoner, that was not only a symbol of societal status and strength, but also a sign of money. I am missing money, whatever mission that earns the most, just assign it to me. Yes, Daran Master, please wait. That person didn't dare slow down, so he went immediately to prepare. Besides, whatever a 9-star summoner wanted to do, they must have their own reasons. What do we lowly people know? It's better to not talk so much, and stick to their job. Soon the servant brought over a high-level mission book. The center of Moonfall Valley has an electric-type red spider guarding a crystal fruit. If you can get the crystal fruit, there'll be a reward of 1,000,000 gold coins. Huang Beiyu's eyes widened. 1,000,000 gold pieces. I will be return quickly. She took the mission book and walked outside. 1,000,000 gold coins. 1,000,000 gold coins. It can be stolen away by others if she acted too late. Walking out from the mercenary union, she immediately called the Ice Wand spirit bird, and with her body poised, she leapt up vigorously, in a neat and chic manner, dazzling numerous pairs of eyes. The Moonfall Valley was in the center of the foggy forest, flying down from the cliff. The bottom was expansive and open, with tall trees and rampant beasts. It was simply another foggy forest. The 1 million gold prize was too tempting, so Huang Beiyu was not the only one to come compete for it. There were a few other good mercenary groups that were already lurking deep in every part of the valley. The Red Spider was located in the pit of the bottom of the valley, where no grass grew. The earth was burnt slightly red, and was smoking black smoke. Rays of lightning shone everywhere, and wherever the lightning touched everything would become burnt into ruins. That red spider was in the center of the lightning, weaving a network of webs, and the web was hung full of various beasts' corpses. Basically any beasts near it has become its meal. Many mercenaries gulped when they saw the scene. It's too strong. Damn, what level is this beast on? Like summoners, beasts were also categorized into classes, from 1 to 12, naturally. Beasts like the purple flame unicorn and the Iceland spirit bird don't even belong in these classes. Wuling, 5 spirit, means that it is the strongest beast in the land, 5 of the most supreme attributes, with incredible growth potential, with changes occurring all the time. The Chinese had a double negative, that are normally unmatched, so they were generally not categorized at Wuling level. It's at least above class 10, there's a level 10 blue bat corpse hanging on the web. To fight a beast above class 10, we're doomed. No way, it's 1 million gold coins. So I came to check out the excitement. Hey, look, what is that? A mercenary suddenly pointed to a white shadow in the sky. Gradually getting closer, a bright crystal light flashed by, a dazzling snow-white color flooded into their eyes, to show huge wings spread in the clear sky. It's the Iceland spirit bird. Even Shi Tian Daren has come. Following the surprise, the enormous shadow also pressed down oppressively. The pressure that could only belong to superior beasts whipped up a burst of madness suddenly, enveloping the entire Moonfall Valley into a ferocious storm. The moment it saw Iceland spirit bird pounce down, the red spider immediately raised its head. It truly isn't wise to provoke beasts classed above level 10, due to their extraordinarily advanced intellect. Red light glowing all over, the red spider opened its mouth. A bolt of lightning erupted out from its mouth, flashing straight towards to Iceland spirit bird. Huang Beiyu stood up behind the bird's back, her hair spilled out from under the hood, and flowed in the wind. She raised her right hand, thick black air swirled in her palm, and she slowly plucked an icy feather from the back of Iceland spirit bird, and used it as a sword, lifting and waving. It was only 2 simple moves, but it had produced an earth-shattering effect. Black gas flowed along the ice feather sword to trail out, forming a rolling and frenzied ribbon of power, to pierce through the lightning that spilled out from the red spider. Suddenly, the lightning burst, and as if that black gas was broken bamboo, it drilled straight into the red spider's mouth, rendering the arrogant red spider motionless in an instant. The red spider stopped moving, and the surrounding lightning had also slowly dispersed. After the lightning dispersed, then exposed underneath the layers of cobwebs, was a clear crystal, a fruit shining with a bright sheen, growing within a cluster of green leaves. Huang Beiyu jumped off the back of Iceland spirit bird, and walked towards the fruit. Only at this time, those surrounding mercenaries who were hiding gradually began to react. It only took 1 move. A red spider beast that was above class 10, was just like that in seconds. The quiet all over the place was terrifying. Hundreds of pairs of eyes followed Huang Beiyu's petite physique that was hidden under the black cloak. Damn. This unbelievable, literal meaning means perverted, but in this context, it can also mean unbelievable. Strength is enough to make other insanely jealous. Looking at Huang Beiyu, who kicked away the motionless red spider, she stretched out her hand to pick the crystal fruit directly when suddenly a voice sounded dash. Huang Beiyu was startled. She turned her head, and saw a handsome and adorable youth with red lips and white teeth, looking nervously at her. This youth was wearing a typical mercenary short robe, a precious snow fox pelt wrapped around his waist, deerskin boots on his feet, with a short black knife in his hand. One look at that knife could tell you that it wasn't normal fare, and should be made from precious metals. Coupled with his handsome face, he didn't look anything like a bloodthirsty mercenary. but actually like an aristocratic master who came out hunting. Seeing the way this youth ran over awkwardly, those mercenaries who were hiding in the dark rolled their eyes. Where did this boy come from? Masters were at work here and naturally they had their own way of doing things. Who needs you to interfere? They all thought this dignified 9-star summoner, who used her hands to pick the crystal fruit directly, must have her own reasons. After all, they just all witnessed her strength. Within seconds she killed a beast classed above level 10 in one move. That young master ran a few steps up to it, and pointed to the crystal fruit. His handsome face began to flush red, further amusing the group of mercenaries and provoking them to laugh. You can't touch it with your hands, the young man said nervously, afraid to look at Huang Beiyu with his pair of large and clear eyes. To be honest, Huang Beiyu really did not know that the crystal fruit couldn't be picked directly with her hands. She just reached out subconsciously, and when she heard the youth's words, she pulled her hand back. The youth jogged over, and handed over to her a high-quality piece of silk he took from the pack tied to his waist. The crystal fruit will melt when it encounters human touch, the youth said softly. Huang Beiyu was shocked to realize that it was so. She had almost accidentally destroyed the 1 million gold coins prize. Thanks to this young man, she took the silk and said to him thank you. Upon hearing her gratitude, the youth's handsome face flushed with a touch of crimson, and was so overwhelmed with excitement that he didn't know what to do. Seeing the way Huang Beiyu wrapped up the crystal fruit in silk, and gently plucked it, the youth said again, Shi Tiandaran, would you really stay in Nanyi Nation? Huang Beiyu nodded. This youth reminded himself at this crucial moment, to prevent her from losing 1 million gold coins, so she still held affection for him in her heart. You helped me, so it means that we picked this crystal fruit together. When we get the prize money, let's share it together. Huang Beiyu said lightly. She has never liked to owe anyone anything. We together. These words crashed into the youth's mind, and he suddenly felt dizzy, and couldn't remember where he was. Together, Shi Tiandaran actually said to pick the crystal fruit together with him. Really, we'll pick it together? This is great. This is the first mercenary mission that I've finished in my life. The youth jumped around happily. Looking at his innocent face, Huang Beiyu relaxed. Shi Tiandaran, I don't want money, I want, the youth said with a blush, looked up at the huge Ice-Luan spirit bird that was as big as a palace. Can I pet him? He knew that these spiritual beasts were very proud, especially intelligent beasts such as the Ice-Luan spirit bird. There were some beasts that even summoners feared. Perhaps this request was a little too much. Huang Beiyu's eyes shined. It was only a pet. The 1 million gold prize was hers entirely. Why wouldn't she be happy? No problem. She replied happily, and waved her hand. As we all know, ice beasts were the most proud and arrogant of all beasts, but they were also the most difficult to summon and for a summoner to form a contract with, so when summoners received an ice beast, they generally gave the summons a lot of face. But as the Ice-Luan spirit bird was in Huang Beiyu's service, especially seeing her power, its heart felt that its owner was very good, and felt that there was absolutely no loss. So seeing Huang Beiyu waving, it bowed its head. Although it was not happy, its obligation was to meet its owner's desire. As the teenager watched in disbelief as the ice spirit bird actually bowed its head, his round eyes were extremely happy. All the mercenaries surrounding them looked as if they had seen a ghost. Wow! Shi Tiandaran was too abnormal, actually getting one of the Wuling to bow just by waving a hand. What kind of devilish luck this kid have? Being able to touch the head of the Ice-Luan spirit bird, he could go back and stamp his hands and make money off it. Thank you, thank you. The young teen quickly touched the head of the Ice-Luan spirit bird. By Huang Beiyu's command, the Ice-Luan spirit bird condensed the cold air surrounding it, so the young man's hand would not get frostbite, but when the brat touched his noble head, the Ice-Luan magic bird snorted from his nose. Master, this kid's skin looks fine and tender, it must certainly be delicious. The Ice-Luan bird spoke into Huang Beiyu's mind. She laughed loudly, and spoke back mentally, you cannot mess with him, this child's backing is probably not small. Shi Tiandaran, how are you going to deal with the red spider's body? The young man asked excitedly as he touched the Ice-Luan magic bird with his hands. Huang Beiyu looked at the red spider. Originally she intended to throw it away, but since this youth had asked, it means that it would be useful. Do you have any suggestions? Yes, the young man nodded. This red spider is still alive, but since you defeated it, you can sell the tamed creature at the auction. The price would be very high. Oh! Hearing that she could also sell beasts for money, Huang Bei Yu became very interested. How high? Since a high-level beast is harder to tame, if a summoner wanted to increase their strength, they must try to tame a beast higher than their own star level. So if a summoner had 3 stars and was able to tame a 5th-star beast, their strength would be able to rise to an advanced 3-star summoner or even 4-star. However, high-level beasts would not respond if the level of the summoner was too low, but there was an exception to the situation, and that happened when a beast was defeated. It would yield to any human. If it was defeated and the summoner did not create a contract, it could be transferred and others could then contract with it. As the young man endlessly talked, he became more and more excited. A more than 10-level spider. Casual money could not buy it. When she originally went to the auction, she noticed the prices were not low. But she did not know that in the auction house the opportunities would be so easy to cheat. Shi Tian Daren, if you do not mind, you can come to my auction house. I will not touch your commission. The young man looked at the mysterious Shi Tian Daren. If she went to their auction house with a 10-level beast, his father would absolutely be smiling from ear to ear. It turned out that this young man's family ran an auction. No wonder he knew so much. Such an opportunity opened up when she was in urgent need of money. When can I attend the auction? Of course you can come at all times, but in order to sell it at a high price, I recommend tomorrow's auction. Today we will spread the news first as there are countless people who want to buy a beast in the capital. No problem. The more money the better. She could never have too much money. The young man took out a golden card from his bag and handed it to her. Tomorrow when you come to the auction house, show this card, and the people will inform me. Huang Bei Yu looked down at the card. The card has the words Bujie Auction House printed, while it had the Bujie family cross-star badge printed on the back. The Bujie family was the most prestigious family on the whole of the Carter continent. It could be said that in any country, they have a very high status and prestige. They were known as the nobles of all nobles. Was this young man from the Bujie family? Master Luo, you are here. From the mercenary group, a man suddenly shoved past a few people, his face anxious and pale. When he saw the young man, he immediately ran over. The young man's previously high spirits were immediately dampened as he bowed his shoulders. I was found. Without looking too closely, Huang Bei Yu could easily guess the identity of the boy. The young master of a big family snuck out. This kind of thing was very common on the Carter continent. Because in the era, to become strong, was almost everyone's dream. This red spider, you keep it, I will come to the auction tomorrow. Not wanting to continue and become entangled with the Bujie family struggle, Huang Bei Yu jumped on the back of the Ice-Swan spirit bird and soon left. The young man's eyes looked longingly at the high-flying Ice-Swan spirit bird, and he dreamily touched his right hand. He could not believe it. Just now he wasn't dreaming. Master Luo. A group of people rushed over. Each one was not less than a high-ranked warrior expert. You worried us to death. Master knows that you are gone and he is furious. Come back with us quickly. Luo Bujie raised his handsome face, and suddenly he laughed. My father will certainly praise me. Several of the warriors glanced at each other, but when they saw the red spider on the ground, they all had a shocked expression. Master Luo, this is, the legendary Shi Tian Daren left the beast, and decided to auction it at our auction house. Luo proudly said. That legendary Shi Tian Daren. The warriors immediately revealed an expression of reverence, and said, Master, you are really powerful. Indeed he is the top genius of our Bujie family. Bei Yu dynasty. The mission was turned in at the mercenary trade union, and 1,000,000 gold coins were received in return. On the Carter continent, the currency in circulation were gold, silver, copper, and iron coins. 1,000 iron coins equals 100 copper coins equals 10 silver coins equals 1 gold coin. If a person had much money, they could use 10 gold coins for a Zhonglan Mu card. Money could be deposited in it, and when needed it could be removed directly. The Lan Mu card function was almost the same, But the Lan Mu card could only be used to store money, and the price was cheaper than the Zhonglan Mu card's price of 10 gold coins. Although she was satisfied that the ring was worth the price, since she did not have a lot of money now, Huang Beiyu did not intend to immediately buy the ring. Instead, she took a stroll around the Bujie market circle to understand some of the ingredients of this world. Shi Tian Daren. A person behind her ran up, panting as he solemnly handed her a large gold letter. I finally found you. His Royal Highness the Prince sent me to give this to you. Let me give you. Since His Royal Highness went to the light floating forest, he could not come in person. I apologize. That was a royal invitation. On the gold letter, one could vaguely sense the fluctuation of energy. A palace banquet? Huang Beiyu asked lightly. In her memory, before Princess Hui Wen died, Huang Beiyu often frequented the palace, but because she was too weak and timid, the Empress did not like her too much. The banquet would be held at the Empress's palace, and although it was only the general banquet, with the specifications of this letter, it was clear that a lot of great men would attend. The family of the first princess would certainly receive an invitation, but the Empress was not in the palace. In addition, Huang Beiyu could not participate in the previous years because of disease. Remember, one of the concubines was poisoning her. The banquet will be held at the Empress's palace. Daren, you're the VIP. Thank you. Huang Beiyu said lightly as she received the letter, nodded and left. She had specifically chosen this street last night as she had chased the sound of the qin while on the Iceland spirit bird. Here there were less people, but in front of the house, there were a lot of guards. The patrol teams were coming and going without slacking. This place looked too ragged and shabby to the eye. How could there be so many guards? As Huang Beiyu got a little closer, the soldiers on patrol immediately noticed her, but seeing her strange black robe and delicate stature, her body still gave off an elegant and mysterious atmosphere, causing people to not underestimate her. Being here is forbidden. Do not step into it. Please leave. A warrior said, striding forward, although his tone was still polite. Huang Beiyu stared at the old wooden door. She did not want to cause a dispute, so she turned around about to leave, when suddenly across the street came a carriage, which had many warriors in front as well as following behind. It did not look like it was for protection, but rather for surveillance. Slightly narrowing her eyes, Huang Beiyu simply retreated to corner while silently watching. The carriage stopped at the door. A warrior walked over to it and spoke, his face looking righteous. The prince is back. Please let us search. The carriage was to be searched. What a rare novelty. The warrior just finished speaking, when the carriage curtain opened, exposing a sullen face. Your Highness is sick. What good is a search? When did we hide something? This are my orders from the Emperor. I have to act. Yuan Daren, please forgive me. Forget it. A weak voice came from the carriage, wispy and low, as if it would be scattered if the wind blew it. And then a pale hand emerged from the carriage. Help me get off. Hearing this voice, the warrior's chilled face appeared to ease a bit and fill with some respect. Prince Yi, I have offended. No harm. Is too rude. The tone was so gently, yet held a faint, kind of invisible power that made people feel comfortable at heart. Prince Yi. Huang Beiyu searched her memories for the princes of each country. Yes, a decade ago Nanyi nation had fought against Bei Yarrow country. The two sides were halfway reconciled, so the two sides exchanged political hostages. Bei Yarrow nation had sent the 6-year-old 9th Prince Feng Lianyi. She remembered that during that year, Princess Hui Wen had personally taken people from the city to go meet the young 9th prince. A decade had passed. Now the youngest son was all grown up. Unfortunately, he was still living in the enemy country as a political hostage. Bei Yarrow nation seemed to have no thoughts of taking the 9th prince back. Naturally, Nanyi nation did not mind keeping the prince of Bei Yarrow nation. Since ancient times, the emperor would have many heirs. On the Carter continent, when the enemy sent a political hostage, there was usually no chance of the hostage returning home. They usually got depressed, died mysteriously, committed suicide, or were tortured and killed when war broke out. The Prince Wei Yi, what kind of end did he meet? The young man called Yuan Di turned around and opened the carriage door, carefully holding the arm of Prince Yi and helping him down. The pure white clothes first greeted the eye, followed by long hair as black jade. Heading down the carriage, there was the image of a perfect side profile that left people breathless. While the figure was a bit thin, he walked down the carriage, untied the cloak off his body, then raised his hand, his voice low, "Search it." The breeze was blowing. Like the moon on spring flowers, he displayed an elegant temperament. Because his back was turned, she could not see what that person looked like. Slightly squinting, she coldly gazed at the thin figure who displayed such a gently temperament, just like a breeze beneath the moon, his back giving the impression of an immortal man. The warrior symbolically looked at the token on his cuffs, then waved to release them. "Thank you." Having the elegance and appearance of a rich son, he said his thanks, then grabbed Yuan-Di's arm, and slowly walked away. The door closed, as the political hostage was no longer outside the house. Calm was restored, and the patrolling guards began to walk around meticulously. Seeing that there was nothing else to see, Huang Bei you could only turn and leave. Although she was a bit curious about the person playing the Qin last night, since Nanyi Nation would not treat a political hostage well, she would not go and give him trouble. Last night Qin and flute ensemble was unforgettable for her. That ethereal melody of the Qin hid a proud heart. If there is a chance, she looks forward to playing again with him. As the doors of the political hostage's palace shut, Feng Lianyi took a few steps forward, then suddenly stopped, and turned to look at the door which closed. His usual gentle and aloof eyes at that moment turned cold, glittering as it revealed a demon-like sharpness. "Your Highness, what is it?" Yuan-Di did not like the warrior out front as he had ignored his impulsive anger, and remained calm and commanding, like a general in front of the wind. "Nothing." Feng Lianyi shook his head, his mouth quirked up slightly, revealing a soft smile as he laughed. Yuan-Di's heart skipped a beat. Around people, His Royal Highness never laughed or smiled, so hearing the small soft laugh gave his heart a bit of a chill. Feng Lianyi glanced back, then continued moving forward. Yuan-Di said, "Tomorrow the palace is hosting a feast. The letter was sent as usual. Will your Royal Highness attend?" Although His Royal Highness was a political hostage, in Nanyi Nation, invitations to all the large and small banquets would still be sent here, since several dignitaries of Nanyi country admired the character of His Royal Highness. Additionally, as he had been a political hostage for 10 years, His Royal Highness had also met a lot of people. His Royal Highness would occasionally and carefully attend the palace banquet or some other aristocratic banquet. But within the past 2 days His Royal Highness had suffered a little cold, his body was not feeling well, so he would probably not attend. I heard that someone comparable to the 9-star summoner the Battle Wild Prince had appeared in Nanyi Nation. Additionally, his summoned beast is one of the Wuling. Such a summoner, I would definitely like to see them. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.